It is the right button. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the fifth dimension. Now I have a bunch of friends with me along for the ride when it comes to The Legend of Zelda, the announcements we have for the Nintendo Direct, Skyward Sword HD, Breath of the Wild 2, and the 35th anniversary that is still in the unknown. I am your host, HMK, and I am joined by, let's go around the room, Mr. Austin John Plays. How are you doing today, good sir?
Hey everyone, I'm pretty sure the only reason I'm in the top left corner is because it's alphabetical.
Yeah, pretty much. You want to tell them who you are?
Boom, there you go. There's your 11 months.
Listen. 11 we're going to be talking about this. So you want to give yourself a little intro, Austin, or you good? You don't need no introduction.
Hi, I'm Austin John of the YouTube channel Austin John Plays, where I play video games, mostly Nintendo AAA titles, which I make tips and tricks, tutorials, and Let's Plays. Mainly Legend of Zelda, Pokemon, and on occasion Animal Crossing, Mario games, and Minecraft.
Yo, and he does amazing work. If you guys are not following Austin John Plays, you do that now. All right? Next up on the docket, we have our boy, you know him, you love him, Conrad of Commonwealth Realm. How you doing today, my friend?
Hello there. Yeah, it's doing well. Yeah, you know me, Zelda, Nintendo, good stuff.
The real
hype. Skyward Sword hype.
No, I'm excited. We're gonna get right into the spiel of that. Going off next off the rails, we've got Mr. Croton. How you doing today? I really like your camera. Can I say that?
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Well, I'm doing great because Skyward Sword HD got announced, and that was like the one game I really wanted to Switch. Like in terms of ports, like I am just ecstatic about it, and I love the game. For like mainline Zelda games, like behind Breath of the Wild, that's my favorite. So like as you can see, I'm very, very excited. So.
Oh, and we're gonna be talking about how that port got support.
Yes.
Because like I'm waiting for the judgment. All right.
Oh my God. Amazing.
I thought you were gonna hit like a thing for applause, like that you have like handy, like with an Xbox ready to go. I was like, yeah.
That's an idea. That's not because I make tons of bad jokes. Anyways,
or Michael Scott rim shot, but it's
yeah, or on your stream deck.
Right. Yes. I'll incorporate that at one point. Next up, we got Masked Nintendo Bandit. What is good?
Oh man, so much, including this stream. Masked Nintendo Bandit here. You can call me Bandit or Jordan. I respond to both sometimes. I do Zelda theories and soon to come other franchises as well. Give me a follow if you're into that sort of thing.
I'm excited. Yo, where's the Persona stuff?
I mean, it's coming.
Okay, I'm excited for that.
I'm
All right, I'm excited for that.
See.
Be sure to check out Masked Nintendo Bandit. But next up, we've got our boy, our dude, the Maze of the Monster Maze. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, I'm Don. I run a channel called Monster Maze. I mostly focus on Zelda stuff, but I'm also looking into some other stuff as well. I've already done some Silent Hill, some Paper Mario. We never know what the future brings, but yeah, Zelda mostly right now. So go check it out.
Man, honestly, I'm so glad that Zelda is not going anywhere anytime soon. The Zelda drops are wild, but I mean, looks like we're getting something we're getting something new every time. So we all know we can rely on Zelda a bit, right?
Always, yeah, for sure.
It's not always a new experience. It's not always the game that we want. Sometimes it's just Zelda's name thrown onto something else, but it's a Zelda game.
Yeah, and I'll buy it because I'm Zelda
Or
trash.
Hyrule.
But you know what isn't Zelda trash? Our boy Alex, representing Zelda Universe. How you doing today?
Hi. Good. As HMK said, I'm Alex. I'm rep from Zelda Universe, social media manager, video person. I do Zelda dubs. I also keep the spirit of Kid Icarus alive on YouTube. So that's pretty much my identity. But yeah, that's me. Hello.
It's a good game and it deserves a sequel. Sakurai, you want to take a break after the sequel, the port? I don't care. Bring Uprising to the Switch, that'll be fine. That game's so good. Oh my God. Anyways, guys, we have a power-packed show for you guys when it comes to all things Legend of Zelda and Nintendo. But first of all, I want to get a good consensus around the room. We've got a system in place when it comes to everyone speaking their minds about particular subjects, and I will host as best I can. And I'm going to throw the ball over to Austin John first because I know, like, yo, Austin, buddy, I know you got sometimes like the spicy take. So there's a question for everyone on the docket first. What did you think about the Nintendo Direct?
I personally think as though this was a good first Direct in a while. And I think one of the biggest problems is people are not focusing on, they literally said that they were going to be focusing on first half 2021 games. We don't know the 2021 holiday releases. They could have some, is this a family friendly stream?
Oh, no, go for it.
They could have some big shit down the pipe.
Yo, this is the fifth dimension, man. We're out here. We're wilding. We're fucking wilding out here.
We
So
don't know what's coming on for the holiday season. And one of the biggest questions is the Switch just going to be the new Pokemon machine? Hopefully not. Like, they're going to have all the different games rotating in the holiday season. We don't know what's coming the second half of the year.
Right.
With that being said, it makes sense that Skyward Sword is going to be a summer release because they like to do at least a 3 to 6 week stagger on their first party titles and AAA titles that come to the platform. So definitely makes sense. We could also see, you know, I mean, I personally think the Age of Calamity DLC is bullshit. But people are like, listen, this was the best-selling Warriors game, and I'm like,
of
it
course,
was.
It was. In the first 3 days, it was. And that's
Maybe it's just because, like, and I'm sure everyone here, all of these panels here, can agree. Age of Calamity did horrible on YouTube.
Oh!
Yes. Yeah.
It was such a straightforward.
Oh,
silly
we are.
game.
Yo, we're going there. Okay. All right. Yeah, we are.
Tutorials, the secrets, the Easter eggs, the theories, all of it did not good.
Well, like there's still a very
Well-
big amount of people who still refuse to like accept this game as canon.
Well, it's not.
That's the thing. I want to interject a little bit. We're gonna throw the ball over back to Austin, but you know, like the game is canon, but it's not canon. It's both. It's a weird position. I consider it both, and if I have to consider it both, then it is indeed canon at the end of the day. Sure, you might not like the advent of time travel. Spoilers, I don't care.
I actually didn't beat the game.
Ah! Well, no, you knew about time travel from the beginning, from the demo.
Well, yeah, in the
demo.
first 2 minutes we know about time travel.
Okay, so that's all I'm saying. And, you know, like, if you're going to complain about time travel, welcome to Zelda. Where have you been? Enjoy your stay, you know? So, honestly, I don't see, you know, people making, like, why people are mad about it. At the end of the day, it's not a Zelda game. It's a Hyrule Warriors game. So, deep down in my heart, I always knew they were going to pull some hanky-panky bullshit like this. But I don't know if I don't speak for everyone else in this room, but personally, I really, really liked Age of Calamity. I love that game.
Oh, yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
For sure.
So, I'm going to throw it back to
wait.
Austin. Yeah.
Did you like the movies or did you like the game?
I like the game. I like Warriors games. I enjoy Warriors
Okay.
games. You know, seeing Zelda characters in high octane, powerful positions makes me feel exhilarated. I always liked that about the original Warriors game. So when they apply that to Zelda, I was just a happy camper. You know, all around the board.
I liked AOC for the first 20 hours, and then I realized that it was just going to be the same thing for the next 20 hours, and that's what kind of killed it for me. Plus, no one was watching the videos.
Yeah.
Anyways, how do I feel about the Direct? It was a nice starting point. It was a nice starting point. We haven't had a full general Direct in over a year and a half. People seem to forget what the Directs were, which is, hey, something fun in the beginning, bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. Hey, something nice over here, more bullshit, 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 bullshit. And one more thing, boom, the thing we're waiting for.
Yes, indeedy, man. Because
And I don't think the people who enjoy Splatoon aren't very outspoken people, but Splatoon's a banger.
It's fun. Yeah.
it's really good. And you know, I've seen that a lot on social media where, you know, people are like sandbagging the Splatoon 3 release where it's like, oh, do we need Splatoon 3? Why Splatoon 3 is the last game? Is Splatoon like really that big? And the answer is yes. If you guys have been living on Splatoon is gigantic. Like, you know, maybe I guess like Austin said, maybe the social media presence of, you know, the community is not as rampant as other communities like Zelda, Kingdom Hearts, stuff like that. You know, things that you see all the time. Every time Smash is about to have an announcement, Sora ends up trending. It's not my fault. But when it comes to Splatoon, they're not really outspoken like Austin said. So don't let that betray the numbers, the sheer amount of numbers and hype that Splatoon 3 really is. But I'm glad to get your take on that, Austin. But I do want to throw it over to Conrad. What did you think about the Direct?
Well, I'm finally glad I could shave, for crying out loud.
Man.
This stupid bet has been going on way too long, for over 500 days without a Nintendo Direct. Obvious, we know what happened around the world in the last 12 months, so it's understandable, but it was about time. And obviously, when you have had such a long gap between your last Nintendo Direct, and then you say it's going to be 50 minutes long, then people tend to forget that it's only going to be covering games until the end of summer, because the furthest we got in terms of games that are coming out in 2021 is No More Heroes 3, which is coming out on August 27th, was it? I think it was one of those, yeah. And I would say this Direct was... it had its balance. It did. It was just that when they revealed Pyra and Mythra for Smash, I thought first that this was a sequel to Xenoblade Chronicles 2. And that would have been a much bigger announcement. Let's face it, even though it's very cool to have Pyra and Mythra and Smash, I feel like a Xenoblade Chronicles 2 sequel would have been way, way bigger. But there are games there that I was excited for, like Mario Golf. Being able to play a Wii Sports golf-style game again after all these years. Yes, sign me up. And then with that whole new mode, absolutely on board. Of course, there were a lot of things in the middle. We have talked about... no one has mentioned that Octopath Traveler sequel or spiritual sequel game.
Right, the follow-up to that.
Yeah. Looks very promising. Demo out, so we can check it out. With Zelda, of course, hoping that they would say something about Breath of the Wild 2. Sadly,
they did.
Still not. They did. They said that
they just listen. Well, first of all, they gave us that little reminder that hey, they're still working on it on the 2-year anniversary of them giving us a 90 seconds about the sequel.
Yeah.
Exactly that's true, but I mean, like, I appreciate them being somewhat transparent about it. You know, it's not like I made fun of this in my last video, but you know, it's better than what they're doing with Prime 4 and Bayonetta 3. Like,
this is more than we have for Bayonetta 3,
right? Man, that's crazy. But I'm glad they're being a bit transparent, and they the confirmation of news, which will be the next piece on the docket. But I still want to get everyone's take on the Direct. But honestly, I'm glad that, like, imagine Aonuma shows up and did not say anything about Breath of the Wild 2. He was just like Skyward Sword HD. I'm glad that, he knows that everyone, is like, where? And it's like, guys, vibe. It's coming. Don't worry, it's coming. So, I mean, I think that's enough for me for now. But obviously, we've been through the Zelda Wii U drought together. All of us, we have. So, I mean, we can do this.
Before we hop to the next person, you just sparked something in my head. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Aonuma first teased the Skyward Sword remake for the Switch during the Zelda Symphony that they were doing the Breath of the Wild tour.
Yep.
So during the Breath of the Wild tour, he talked about Skyward Sword.
Yep.
So here at the Skyward Sword announcement, he talked about Breath of the Wild.
Cool. That's really funny. But yeah, he was like teasing about it, and he's like, "Oh, you guys really want it? I mean, I don't know. I don't know if you guys really want it." And I'm like, "Yes." Yes, don't listen to the noise, man. Everyone's like, Skyward Sword's a bad game. No, it's not. Go play it, man.
Okay, so I didn't get to talk about Skyward Sword since you stopped me right there.
Yeah.
But having those new controller schemes, that is the one argument that people had against finishing this game. It was like, oh no, I'm not going to deal another 20 hours with this controller scheme. Now you don't have to. And you can experience the masterpiece that is the story in this game. Finally.
My argument was learning about what a blue rupee is 28 times.
Yes.
They cut it out of Twilight Princess. They're gonna cut it out of this one too. I promise you. They have to. If they don't, just throw the whole game away.
That's lazy if you don't.
Right?
Yeah.
I
like one of the worst things. The Amber
like 40% of the times.
Right. But I'm glad I got your take, Conrad, but I want to move on to the next person in the room. Yo, Croton, let me know what you think about the Direct. Go ahead. Don't be afraid. We're all friends here.
Well, the Direct, honestly, like, just coming from a Zelda fan, I'm happy we got just not one, but well, a few different things, like between Skyward Sword, even the Age of Calamity expansion pass, which I like Age of Calamity. I think it's kind of neat that they at least tease something. Not like super excited because I thought Age of Calamity was one of those games where it's like you play through it once, had a cool story, some fun gameplay, and then I never really revisited it. Like there was a lot of like side content for more characters, but you know what? It was a fun, just like single playthrough sort of game, and there's some content I'm like, okay, cool, that might be kind of fun to check out. That's how I feel on it personally, and last thing was Breath of the Wild 2 news, which I'm very happy that they've been keeping us up to date because, you know, 2019, it's almost been 2 years since the last bit of news. But, you know, there's always that one big, like, period between the first announcement and, like, the really big reveal. Like, if we look back to Breath of the Wild, like, what was it? Is it E3 2014? They show off, like, the new trailer and stuff like that.
Yep.
I think later that year, they show off some gameplay. But then it was kind of a big wait till E3 2016, where they show off, like, the actual name reveal, Breath of the Wild, the plateau gameplay, the big trailer, stuff like that. So, like, that's the way I see it. Like, we already got the first, like, a trailer teasing, like, the essence of the game, like, what to expect with, like, the theme, like, the darker theme of Zelda. And they're just, like, waiting and just going, they're probably going to go all guns blazing this E3. Hopefully. E3 maybe a little bit later. But E3 seems like an ideal time to just show, like, official name drop, some of the gameplay and stuff like that. And then it could come holiday or early next year, and that's what I'm hoping for. And because of that, as a Zelda fan, I'm very satisfied that they've been at least acknowledging it, keeping up to date, and still giving us a lot of things like Skyward Sword HD, Age of Calamity, Link's Awakening. Those are all things after Breath of the Wild's release, and we've been, you know, getting a decent amount of stuff as a Zelda fan. So like, I'm pretty happy with it. That's my thoughts.
Yo, that very, very concise, and like I love how you brought up E3 2016 because I was actually able to go there, and man, that shit was electric, bro. Oh my god, that was like, honestly, people were sandbagging Nintendo for like, oh, they're only gonna have one game playable there. I don't care if it's Zelda, just one game, bro. That shit was a fucking theme park, man. Yo,
Worth it.
It was amazingly worth it. But you know, given what's going on with the world right now, I doubt they're gonna be able to emulate that kind of experience with E3, since E3 is being scheduled to be a digital show. But that's their intentions. We don't even know if E3 is going to happen or not, because that's a whole other conversation that we can have. But E3 time, I feel, is a good time for them to have the, you know, the next big reveal to explode everything when it comes to Breath of the Wild 2. Finally, a name reveal and whatnot. Alex just dipped, but I think he's gonna. I'm sure he's gonna be back. So, all things considered, let's throw the ball over to Mass Nintendo Bandit. What do you think about the Direct? What did you think about the Direct?
Well, obviously, DC Supergirls is where it's at.
That looks like
so he quit. So I'm gonna be running the Fifth Dimension now. No, I'm just kidding. So I'm also in the second row here. So there were a lot of really, really good points already said by you three gentlemen up above me, but I guess I just kind of want to echo it. I thought that the acknowledgement, the first time that they have acknowledged that we want Breath of the Wild 2 news, was huge. You know, it just, you know, because they've seen, and you know, Nintendo themselves has had a little bit of a situation to deal with, you know, online recently, you know, and I'm not just talking about Breath of the Wild 2, right? If you know, you know.
Right.
But so they know, you know, how tense things can get so quickly, you know, if you leave things unresolved or you leave things unsaid. So I like super appreciated when Aonuma just popped up on screen and was straight up immediately just like, listen, I know this is what you want, not gonna happen, but it's gonna happen later this year. And that was another huge thing. I almost I almost wish they hadn't necessarily told us later this year, because there's another expectation, right? Let's just say that by whatever reason January 1st rolls around, we haven't heard anything, right? Pretty sure we're actually going to Riot this time.
I mean,
you know,
I think they would do something at E3 time.
For sure. I'm just saying, worst case scenario, you know, they put the standard there now. You know?
After all, this is Zelda 35.
This is Zelda 35.
Or Switch 35.
Yeah, let's all make 35 feet. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway,
or Switch Pro time.
Wait, there's 7 of us.
Or Switch Pro.
We all just hold up 5 fingers.
Oh yeah.
Look at that quick math.
That's
why you're on the top left. You got the quick math. That's why.
There we go.
But anyway, no, the Direct was great in my opinion. It wasn't as I guess obviously it wasn't as eventful as people were hoping, but that's okay. We had 50 minutes of Nintendo telling us new stuff after well over a year. Me personally, I've learned to be grateful, and so I watched it and I was grateful. That's all I can really say. And then Skyward Sword HD is going to take up a bunch of my time. Actually, I'm going to use that to start my Twitch channel. So
Nice. I'm looking forward to that.
Awesome.
thanks, bro.
It's a great. Skyward Sword is so good, bro. I'm
It's
so
good.
glad.
It's so good.
I'm so glad it's coming to the Switch. I don't have to
Oh,
boot
dude,
up my
I've
Wii U
never
anymore.
been. Yeah, I have never been more happy to be wrong. I was one of the. I mean, again, for people in the know, right? I was very vocal about the fact that Skyward Sword would never come to the Switch.
Bro.
I said it'll never happen.
I'm gonna tell you right now. After they did Super Mario Galaxy and No More Heroes 1 on 2, No More Heroes 1 and 2 on the Switch, I'm like, there is literally no reason why Skyward Sword can't work on the Switch now. No reason. After I played those games, I'm like, and they put in button controls.
But
Like,
the GameCube controller and the analog feel.
Yeah.
no. And then people were like, how are you going to control the camera if the stick is going to be the sword? I'm like, I don't know if you actually played Skyward Sword back in the day, but, you know, that didn't have camera controls. It's like, that sounds like it sucks. No.
No, you just did Z.
Yeah.
Just did Z.
You can camera reset, and the worlds were literally built around that, you know, that you can't really control the camera. It's like, oh, it's linear, man. Whatever. ES.
Same kinds of
live
people
fast.
have trouble playing Ocarina of Time. Same kinds of people.
I can't. But that was a good take. That was a good take, Bandit. But let's go ahead and throw the ball over to Don. What's good, Monster Maze? What'd you think about the Nintendo Direct?
Oh, I absolutely loved it. It wasn't necessarily a direct for me, but I'm a very positive person. I had someone with me on stream who has a Splatoon channel, and just seeing the twinkle in his eyes, you know, he's just starting out, and his video actually got a huge boost after that. Just the enthusiasm that I saw from him, I'm like, yeah, if you're someone who is very one franchise focused, very centered around one thing, yeah, a direct like this is gonna disappoint. If you only watch for Breath of the Wild 2, you're gonna feel left out, like, obviously. But I mean, I'm a big Xenoblade guy. I absolutely loved Xenoblade 2. I've been calling for Rex for the longest time.
Yo, he got smoked. I was like,
he got
wow.
smoked. Yeah.
But I'm
And
not mad.
also-
I'm like, it works. It works.
Yeah. And I'm also big on Smash. I play Smash a lot. I've played Smash competitively, even like going to local tournaments. So, yeah, for me, that opening already was like, all right, this direct was already worth it for me. And then we got Skyward Sword. And fun fact, even though I have a Zelda channel, I've never finished Skyward Sword, because back in the day, I was not in a very good position. I didn't like the motion controls. I wasn't. I lost interest in video gaming as a whole. So it wasn't Skyward Sword's fault. Just my entire interest was just gone.
Hey Google,
put away that phone, man.
wait, hey Google, search up how to choke someone through camera.
It was definitely not because it was a bad game, but it was just
definitely.
my general interest in gaming wasn't at its peak at that moment. So I kind of skipped over the game. So for me, like, I know some people have been complaining about the price of Skyward Sword, and I'm like, well, for me, it's like a brand new game,
Right?
Because I never made it past a second or a third dungeon. So
Hang on. I just want to say a little thing. We're all familiar with the game Fortnite.
Yeah.
What's that? Huh?
Fuck that game. Ever since Fortnite, people have asked how much games cost, and this isn't worth $60 when I get this game for free. Like,
Oh, no.
it's the toxic mentality that people are in, that you shouldn't pay upfront to enjoy an experience.
yeah, agreed.
Right.
Like
100%.
And
my,
like,
my cousins were actually complaining about that too. They were like, I'm not paying $60 for this. I'm like, well,
When I have my Fortnite.
I mean, for some people, this is
Yeah.
a brand new game. Yes, it is a port, but they changed the control scheme. You don't even know what's going to be in the game because it's coming out in July.
Right.
Maybe they'll add something new, like they did with the Twilight Princess with the Cave of Ordeals.
I feel
but, like-
there's gonna be a ton of quality of life changes that have not been shown off, and they're, you know, like, I don't know. I'm just spitballing a little too hard here because, like, in the recesses of my mind, I'm like, yo, what if they?
wait a second. Wait. Skyward Sword for the Wii is $38 on eBay.
Yeah.
Why should this not be 60?
It's actually $44 on GameStop's own website.
Like, it's
Well,
not like we're talking about a game that
again-
went down to like $2.
Yeah.
Then again,
And
it's I think it's around $20 on the Wii U though, and that's what the argument people
Exactly.
are
Yeah,
using.
that's I see that. The digital
People have
version
Wii
is
Us?
$20. Yeah.
Mhm.
You want to go ahead and grab a Wii U for like what do they go for now? Like $150? You know,
I think so.
Sure,
Yeah.
man.
120.
Go get a Wii U. Go get batteries. Go get your Wii Motion Plus. Go play your game at 30 frames at 480i. Not even P.
Or
I.
just don't buy it. Like people always like they pretend like they don't have a choice, like they have to buy it.
I hate that.
But I think that kind of rippled through from the whole Pikmin situation where they took down the Pikmin games from Wii U. But I don't know. I don't really care that much about price and everything. But just in general, the Direct was amazing for me. Just the idea of a Direct, having a Direct again, being hyped again, that whole atmosphere that revolves around an actual Direct, that's already enough for me to
So
satisfy me.
I'm gonna go off a bit on a tangent right now because he literally unlocked a portion of my mind. I'm gonna throw the ball over to Alex in order to get our final take on the Nintendo Direct, and then we're gonna start the next. Deal with Conrad after Alex. But the thing I want to say is that the slippery slope about the whole $60 thing about the price and stuff like that, just like how Don said, you don't have to buy it, And I'm not, and this is not me coming from like a way to like seem like an asshole or just like be looking down on you. I'm like literally. Money talks the loudest. You really don't have to buy it. And like if you don't buy it, I'm not gonna be mad at you. Personally, I'm gonna get it. I like Skyward Sword. I'm down for a 1080p 60 frames per second adventure that we possibly could get more of that we don't know about. And at the end of the day, sure, me buying the game could just be a gear in the giant cog, the machine of like Nintendo churning out these titles at a certain amount of price. But I mean, you shouldn't get mad at people buying what they want. And of course, if enough people buy it at that price, that tells Nintendo they can keep doing that, which is the whole double-edged sword about this. People ate up Twilight Princess at full price, HD. People ate up Wind Waker HD at full price. And, that whole spiel about money talking the loudest is what tells Nintendo they can keep doing and getting away with this. Sure, you can complain, you can bitch and moan and whatnot, but I mean, I promise you, there's a lot of people who haven't played Skyward Sword yet. This is a great opportunity for them to play the game. And there's a ton of people shitting on the game. Either the game's ugly or the game plays bad and stuff like that. And I'm promise you, like 80% of those people haven't even played or completed the game, right? And then the same amount of people who are going to complain about the game, about like a good fraction, like maybe like top 50%, are gonna still buy the game. And that's like, you're gonna complain, and yet you're still gonna put money into the system that you're constantly complaining about. And then people are like, oh, but we can get better prices if we just act as a collective and don't buy the game. That's not always the way it works out, because that's the reason why F-Zero is dead, that's the reason why Star Fox is dead, and that's the reason why Metroid Prime is on ice, because y'all literally spoke with your wallets, and that told Nintendo, hey, maybe they're not into this kind of stuff anymore, so let's not do it. So you always have to consider all those variables. It's not as black and white as to say, $60, complain. There's way more variables in the rabbit hole to that whole conundrum. I just had to get it off my chest. I'm sorry. All right, Alex, what did you think about the Nintendo Direct?
Cool. I liked it. It was good. It was not fulfilling, as most people have said on the internet. I think there was something for everybody in that Direct on a good spectrum, which proves to why I wasn't hyped for everything, but it looked cool. And honestly, I think this Direct served as like a purpose of like saying Directs are back, so expect more in the future. And I'm looking forward to that overall. But for me today, this week I got my plenty of a spoonful of announcements that I'm excited for. Pyramithra, obviously. No More Heroes 3. Holy crap, yes. World's End Club, which people don't talk about a lot. I'm actually curious about that game, not just because it's also made by the same people who made Danganronpa. Mario Golf, heck yeah. Age of Calamity DLC, I saw it coming. I'm actually not sold on it yet because I need to learn more about it. Because I'm what can you give me for $20?
That wasn't a trailer. It was just like, here, give us money.
Yeah,
give us money.
Yeah,
we're gonna do things.
We got cool art. That's about it. Like,
yeah,
that's all.
we're obviously getting Pora we're obviously getting Robbie, Aster, and Suga as playable characters.
Emperor.
No spoilers,
I said
dude.
Pura and Pura. Both of them.
Kill me. But I want some
Both
more
versions.
like content to add to the game experience. Which again, I won't say more than that because Austin has not played the rest of the game.
Yeah,
Anyway,
we're not gonna spoil it for the non-spoileries.
Yeah,
man.
yeah. I'm happy Anuma mentioned Breath of the Wild 2 at least to expect more this year. That's all I really needed. I'm honestly not mad about Breath of the Wild not being shown off because I can wait. Skyward Sword is perfect for me because it falls around the same time as my plans for content creation. Can't talk about them right now. So I'm really happy that they went with July and not November, because I have plans for that game. And then Splatoon 3, yeah, I did not see that coming. I thought Splatoon 3 was way far along the line of, you know, the future of Nintendo. But makes sense. But yeah, overall, I say like I was excited at the start and then thrilled at the end. But the middle was just very sluggish for me, so it's like
I definitely
it
get
just felt
that.
very.
You say that
Yeah.
like you're not excited for Mario Golf.
I like Mario. It's just like some
Bowser's
things trickled in.
pants.
Some things trickled in the middle, kept me watching.
Can
But
we
then, of
talk
course, the
about?
end just-
Can we talk about how Camelot is literally trying to make all of their Mario sports games into fighting games? Can we talk about that for a little bit? Like first Mario
Tennis
Tennis
combat.
Aces, and now you can beat each other up on the way to your balls in Mario Golf. I'm like,
Yeah.
why? Where's the strikers? Come on, like
It's just realistic.
Yeah.
That's how
Wait,
it
you
goes.
don't do that when you go
Natural
golfing?
tension.
Everyone hops in the different carts and you trying to knock each other. They should have incorporated the golf carts and Mario Kart into that.
that would have been
They
nice.
should have.
Oh, but
Actual
hang on.
Mario
I
Kart.
don't think anyone mentioned it. Did anyone talk about the new Octopath Traveler game?
Yeah, I think it was
Yeah.
Conrad. He talked about.
Project Triangle
Yeah.
thing. Did everyone here play Octopath?
I played. I
yes.
played a little bit
No.
of it.
Octopath is a phenomenal game. There's also a free
Amazing.
3-hour demo. So you can download it from the eShop, play 3 hours, delete the data, play 3 different hours, because there's 8 different starts to the game.
Right.
And like the lighting effects, the scripting, the writing, the gameplay. The gameplay. I just replayed the game, ignoring every single piece of dialogue and cutscene and only did the gameplay. That's how much I love it. But now
Yeah.
they're making it into a tactical RPG.
I think it's gonna be really cool. One thing I really did
cool.
like about Octopath Traveler is the music is phenomenal, bro. The music
So
is
good.
really good.
Yeah.
It's
So
Square
good, so
Enix.
Yeah, of course.
They are
it is.
the RPG people.
That's why I'm like, yo, high hopes, and you know, there's a demo right now out for Project Triangle, like, Project Triangle Strategy. That's what it's called. Strategy Triangle,
Yes.
whatever.
Working title.
And, yeah, working title. They're just gonna remove the project, just like they did with Octopath Traveler
Yeah.
or whatnot. But I'm so glad I got
triangle.
your take on that, Alex. But Conrad had some to add into the conversation. What do you got for us?
Yeah, in terms of Skyward Sword, again, the whole outcry against the game is probably tied to the fact that people wanted Wind Waker HD and Twilight Princess HD, but then they don't realize one thing. These games already had their 10th anniversary celebrations and remakes. Wind Waker HD in 2013, Twilight Princess in 2016. And it's obvious that we need to get that remake of Skyward Sword first before we go in and get Wind Waker HD and Twilight Princess HD. I wouldn't even be surprised if we get it, say, if Breath of the Wild 2 is a little bit further away, well, maybe that would be close to the holidays. And then you get Breath of the Wild 2 in the first half of 2022. It's a perfect build-up because you go through the timeline this way. It's perfect. It's perfect marketing, and it's a perfect way of getting people through these games and back to replaying a little bit of Breath of the Wild and then getting to Breath of the Wild 2. Perfect. You just went through the timeline.
Right. And I'm really excited because I was telling this to my chat not too long ago. I'm like, yo, Nintendo's smart setting this up for Skyward Sword HD. And a lot of people are like complaining about Twilight Princess Wind Waker. Like Conrad said, they already had their time. They can still, like, apparently there's leaks and whatnot, still saying that they're going to end up coming onto the Switch later down the year or whatnot. You know, believe them if you will. I'm good with Skyward Sword HD. But the thing is that the fact that they're releasing it on before Breath of the Wild 2, Skyward Sword is a very important game in this overall Zelda continuity, right? And there was a big thing of a reveal when it comes to the end of Breath of the Wild and Breath of the Wild's DLC, in which we know that in some way, shape, or form, Fi is still active, right? But people are like, "Who's Fi? What's that sword? Why is it glowing? Why does it sound like that?" You get to find out this year by playing Skyward Sword HD. It's almost as if Nintendo is trying to let you know, it's like, hey, this might be important before you play Breath of the Wild 2. It could be setting that up in a very substantial way. And then if we're talking about things to incorporate into Breath of the Wild 2, how do y'all feel, and I'm going to throw this over to Dawn first, how do you feel about the possibility, we already got confirmation of Amiibo support in Skyward Sword, what if we get something that we can carry over from Skyward Sword HD into Breath of the Wild 2, just like how we did Twilight Princess HD into Breath of the Wild? I'm going to throw over to Dawn first.
Oh, that would be amazing. In general, I feel like Breath of the Wild, the first one, not Breath of the Wild 2, the original one, Skyward Sword's connections to that game are by far the biggest. Like almost everything ties back to, because I remember some time ago when Twilight Princess HD was announced before the release of Breath of the Wild, Anuma was like, "Oh, you're gonna recognize some stuff," but actually, when you play the games, you have the three dragons, which are all named after the dragon spirits from Skyward Sword. You have the springs of courage, power, and wisdom. All some of them look almost identical to those in Skyward Sword. There's so many connections there. Of course, like you said, Fi and the sword. That's a huge thing. I would be very open to that. If they carry over some stuff to Breath of the Wild 2, I feel like a game that tells the origin story of Zelda in general. Like, we owe so much to Skyward Sword. And that's why I could never hate the game, even though I never played it that much. But I know the story. It set up so much. It made the whole universe of Zelda so much more clear how it works and why there's new Lynx every time and why there's a new Zelda every time. The whole Goddess Hylia stuff. That was all explained in Skyward Sword. And you have the Goddess Hylia statues in Breath of the Wild. Also straight out of Skyward Sword. So if we get to play Skyward Sword, if you get rewarded for that in Breath of the Wild 2, yeah, man, I'm totally down for that. That would be amazing.
Right. We got to throw the ball over to Conrad. He's got something to say.
Yeah, it's very brief. First and foremost, about the story of Skyward Sword. This is the doing of the genius of current Zelda director Hidemaru Fujibayashi. He has built up this entire thing with Skyward Sword being the beginning and Breath of the Wild and Breath of the Wild 2 being the end of the existing Zelda timeline as we know it. And this is his massive, massive project that he's been working on the last 10 years to realize. So I think that it's going to be absolutely incredible. And as for the Amiibo that you suggested, HMK, Loft Wing. Let us get the Loft Wing in Breath of the Wild's open world. That would be amazing.
Imagine flying around in a world we've already been to in Breath of the Wild. I can definitely see that. But I'm gonna throw the ball over to Austin. Yo, is your Skyward Sword Amiibo ready or nah? Or just like no Amiibo support?
I was actually thinking about this while you guys were going off. Well, one, if we were getting a new Link Amiibo or a new which by the way, I say Fi.
Yeah.
Fi?
It's Fi because you have to find Zelda.
Okay, but Do, Re, Mi. Mi is Mi.
Yeah, it's weird, but they
okay.
that, like
I'm just
That's why I always say both ways.
How a warrior's pronounced as Fi, so
Fi. I feel like we would have had an announcement about a new Amiibo for Fi or Skyward Sword, and without them announcing it already, because like they announced the Smash Amiibos a year and a half in advance now,
right?
And we had the Link's Awakening Amiibo announced. I want to say soon as we heard about. Oh no, we heard about the Amiibo at the Treehouse event, I believe.
Yeah, E3,
yeah.
But we got the announcement for it February of 2019. So there was that 4-month gap there, but that came out, a few months later. I mean, they do have a little bit of window, but like I don't feel like Zelda's trying to really double down on Amiibo right now, especially with. I don't think the champions sold that well because every time I'm in Best Buy, there's lots of champion Amiibo sitting there doing nothing.
Well, the reprints for Age of Calamity, yeah, they definitely sold pretty badly. You know, when they first came out, I couldn't find them. You know, thankfully Nintendo sent me like the thing. But I mean, like, I'm only missing one Amiibo, guys. Actually, I'm missing 2 Zelda Amiibos. I'm missing Young Link from Smash, and I'm missing Twilight Princess Link. Not the one from Smash, but the actual Twilight Princess Link. That's the only 2 Zelda Amiibos I'm missing, and I'm mad. But don't do it! Don't do it! Austin, stop! Don't do it! Austin, what the fuck? Don't
He's
do
ending
it.
careers.
Next, he's gonna bring out the Loftwing as well.
I'm about to go bust open and get your.
So these two.
No. The one, yeah, the Twilight Princess one. That one. I need that one. I'm talking about Young Link from Smash. That's the one. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He flexing.
And now, yeah, you got me. He's gonna flex some more. Yeah.
That one.
That one.
Love that one.
Those 2 I'm missing.
Oh my gosh.
Ocarina.
Biggest flex.
For me, the hardest Amiibo for me to find are the P2 outfits of the DLC.
Oh,
4 DLC characters from the Wii U game. Finding their
Adventure in
P2
Cloud
outfits.
and Bayonetta 1, Bayonetta. Wait,
Yeah.
I think I have.
I got those.
Wait, I don't have Adventure in Cloud. I have regular Cloud. Damn, now you got me mad. Now I want Adventure in Cloud. What?
And Famicom Rob. I don't have him.
I don't care about Rob. Fuck Rob. He doesn't deserve to be in Smash. He can go die. Man, I hate Rob. I hate Rob. I hate Rob, and I hate Rob players. All right. Disgusting, man. How dare you?
My Rob wouldn't like that. I have my Rob right there.
Yo, don't let me in your house. I'll kick it. Like,
Right next to my Cloud.
but man, I like that Banjo Kazooie thing you got in the back there, man.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
My life became complete when Grant Kirkhope followed me back on Twitter.
That man is a legend.
Yep.
He is. He's such a good soul. He really is.
My goodness. So, like, spieling off of that when it comes to Skyward Sword, a possible Amiibo support, and then what it can mean for Breath of the Wild 2. And the 35th anniversary, which is going to be the next thing on the docket. I want to get everyone else's take, but I want to throw it over to Master Nintendo Bandit because it looks like he's falling asleep. I'm kidding.
My phone's down there.
Okay.
You'll never know. You'll never know. All right. Remind me of the question.
The Skyward Sword HD and Amiibo support and how it could
Yes.
spill over into Breath of the Wild 2.
Oh, I mean, again, brilliant ideas from both of these, all 3 of these, or whoever else has talked at this point, charming individuals. I think soaring over the skies with the Loftwing would be dope. I think just integrating it in general would be awesome. Obviously, I would have to know, anything about the game in general to come up with like specific ideas. Let's say that we're underground, right? Let's say that, I don't know, we have oh my gosh, what was like the camera look feature in Skyward Sword where you
dowsing.
what is it called? Dowsing.
Yeah.
What if what if there's some sort of integration that we can get from Link's Skyward Sword amiibo? It's just the possibilities are endless. I think the concept would work really well.
Shout out to Lefty FB for letting me know that I could get Rob on Amazon at MSRP. Just got him at $14.89.
Oh dang! You just Ooh. Bro, I'm trying to run a stream. You're gonna have me looking for Young Link right now. Like
I'll look it up. I'll let you know what
Oh, okay. Speaking of which, I'm gonna throw it back to. Wait, I'm pretty sure Bandit was done with your.
He's still 40.
I guess I'm done, man. Fine.
No.
No, I'm done.
Jeez.
I'm literally just rambling.
Okay. Well, I mean that's what we do in the fifth dimension. We ramble.
Oh, absolutely. But I mean, like, it's. I think it would be a brilliant concept. I think it would be a loss if they didn't.
Right. Before we continue to think about Skyward Sword, I have to go around the room, and I'm gonna start with myself and say it. So, who here was able to get the Skyward Sword Joy-Cons?
Where?
In Norway, it's not a problem, so I'm
It's
just gonna wait.
just the two of us.
Really? Just
Well, you can
us?
pre-order them?
Did everyone
Yeah.
else try?
Yo, the
You can
pre-order
buy
went
them
went
right.
live yesterday. You might be stuck.
It went live for like 2 minutes, and sources,
Yeah, I tried.
some inside sources, say that GameStop sold out of their complete stock.
I didn't even check because he
Alright
said
then.
that they weren't selling until July. When
I'm
it
glad
was-
I live in
Hope
Europe.
not.
Then.
Yeah.
I'm
And
glad
that,
I
I was
live in
under
Europe.
that
Bandit.
impression as well, but then
I'm
a
just
friend of
gonna go
mine.
steal some.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
god. I was under the impression that they were gonna sell them when the game released as well, and then a friend of mine was like, "Yo, they're live on GameStop." I'm like, "No, you capping?" And I'm
Really?
like, bam, and I was able to get mine. So.
Yeah,
I did not know that.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
Nin Mobile
sad.
News. He's in our group.
Man.
I mean, that's just GameStop. So, like, did other retailers do pre-orders, or was it just GameStop?
I got mine
Uh,
at Best Buy.
Yeah. So far, it's GameStop
Ooh.
and Best Buy. I got mine at GameStop.
I mean, then like Target might do something like so when they go live, or a lot of
Target
stores might
always
just do-
does.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
So,
now-
I didn't know.
Target's always my last ditch effort.
Oh, that's like the closest store to my house, so I checked them first. So.
Yo, Target be having some good pre-order bonuses though, man. Like, don't be sleeping on Target. I don't
Yeah.
know. They came up with those Pokemon coins. But I want to go ahead and throw the ball over to Alex and give me your spiel of what you think about the Skyward Sword HD and possible Amiibo support and how it could spill into Breath of the Wild 2.
Into Breath of the Wild?
2.
Like, do you mean like into Skyward Sword?
No. Skyward Sword into Breath of the Wild 2. Because you know how Twilight Princess, you have that Amiibo and you can summon the wolf?
Oh.
Like, do you think Skyward Sword is going to
Yeah,
do something similar into Breath of the Wild 2?
I'm really confused because I thought we were talking about amiibo functionality in Skyward Sword because I have ideas for that.
Yeah, no, you can
But,
talk about that
yeah.
too. But, like, that's the part of the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, first I'm gonna say like this, but I don't think it's gonna happen. But I thought it was a really possibility in my head. But I think in Skyward Sword, it won't happen. I'm gonna call it right now. It won't happen. But it'd be really cool if we can use our Link amiibo and get the champion tunic for Link to wear in Skyward Sword. That'd be pretty boss. But
That's hot.
Now I'm
It
going to
won't
be
happen.
mad when it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I know.
That's hot.
Well, wasn't that a fear in Skyrim?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and also
And it was hot.
it was
Yeah.
in Skyrim. It was in Hyrule Wars Definitive Edition as well. It's like an actual costume.
We don't talk about that.
and Smash Brothers basically.
That costume gets me mad. The Hyrule Warriors Breath of the Wild costume, that shit gets me so mad. We're not gonna talk about that. And people in the chat's gonna be like, "Why?
Yeah.
Why does it get you mad?" And don't make me start the rant because it will be here for 10 minutes. But
We'll be here all day.
I'm like,
We'll
yeah.
be here all day.
man. But
Yeah, but like honestly, I yeah. And then as for what Amiibo functionality Breath of the Wild 2, like I don't have a really big idea on it. It'd probably be the same as Breath of the Wild 1, just like costumes and stuff that you only can get through Amiibo.
right.
I don't see that being any different. Like, and unfortunately, that sucks because like there's some cool costumes you can't really get unless you have an Amiibo figure.
To be fair, the
Too bad.
Skyward Sword Link amiibo got us the Goddess Sword.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it could
Yeah.
happen. Like,
and the
backwards.
of the Sky tunic outfit.
Yeah.
So
Oh, that's right.
baggy
That's
pants.
right.
if they did come
Yeah.
out with a Skyward Sword outfit or a Skyward Sword amiibo of Fee Fi Fo Fum
Mm-hmm.
or Loftwing, it would probably just serve the same purpose as the 25th anniversary, the 30th anniversary Link amiibo. And I actually hate to say it, but I actually got to run right now. I'm sorry, guys.
All right, no, it's been good, man. Thank you so much for coming on out, Austin, man. It's been really fun.
People I've seen before, I love your faces. People who I've just met now, a pleasure to meet your faces.
All right, man.
I'm assuming you also love our faces, but okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Nice to meet you, man.
I was expecting to see you with a mask on, so
Everybody is, right?
yeah. Bye,
Yeah.
chat. Bye, HMK.
Later,
Bye.
Austin. Thank you so much for coming on.
Bye.
Don't be a stranger.
See you,
Bye.
Austin. Bye. Night.
But
We didn't get to go through all 12 goodbyes.
all 12 goodbyes. But so the chat is now like asking me. I'm gonna go off my mini rant. I'm gonna keep this short and simple as a problem. The Hyrule Warriors Breath of the Wild costume is trash because Link in Hyrule Warriors, the original Hyrule Warriors, is still left-handed. Link in Breath of the Wild is right-handed. They really we're too lazy to not flip the costume over to the right corresponding arm. Link's arm guard is on his shield arm in Hyrule Warriors. Why do you need more protection on your shield arm? The arm guard is supposed to protect your sword arm if you don't have enough time to block with your shield. All right, and furthermore, the scabbard holder, the thing that holds the sword scabbard, is on the belt is belted around his chest on the wrong side. It bothers me to no end, and they did the same fuck up in Age of Calamity. Because in Age of Calamity, when you 100% the game, you get to have the Hyrule Warriors original tunic in Age of Calamity, which looks really nice. But guess what? They fucked that one up too. Because Link's shoulder pauldron is on the wrong side. It's supposed to be on his sword-wielding side because Link in Hyrule Warriors was left-handed. And Link in Age of Calamity, since it's based on Breath of the Wild, is right-handed. And you have the pauldron on his shield arm. Why are you having all this protection on one arm, which is your shield arm, when it's meant to be on your sword-wielding arm in order to give it some protection, just in case if he has to block like that? Designs, you really couldn't flip it over to Nintendo? Really? Really? I'm sorry.
That's a fair right. I did not even notice that, and now I'm like never going to be able to look at.
Yeah.
So,
Go look at it, and now your eye has been, your fifth dimensional eye has been opened. Go look at it, and you're gonna.
Is this how it feels?
Yep.
The fifth dimensional eye opening?
Yep.
Yes, so.
It's invigorating. I feel upset.
I'm upset. Anyways, Skyward Sword HD Amiibo support. What do you think, Croton?
Right. So for the Amiibo support, I thought about this for a bit actually, but most of the Amiibos that we have for, obviously pre-existing Zelda Amiibos before Breath of the Wild, those all work with the game in unique ways, but everything we've got after Breath of the Wild, like, look at like the Link's Awakening Amiibo or Young Link, like those don't have the unique things. Like the Young Link Amiibo doesn't give like Majora's Mask drops like that one,
right? Despite
it looking the same. So honestly, because he didn't already announce an Amiibo for Skyward Sword, I don't think it's going to have any special functionality besides just another cool loot drop, like in Breath of the Wild sequel, along with the new ones that they didn't account for. And
yeah, no, continue. But I'm just like,
okay. Sorry. But the thing is, with Twilight Princess HD, the reason why I think it had all this extra support with Breath of the Wild is because that Amiibo came bundled in with Twilight Princess, if you remember. Like, you got Twilight Princess HD, it came with Wolf Link. So, like, it was so much of a bigger deal, so they put more effort into the Breath of the Wild functionality. Like, hey, play this game, do the dungeon, you get more hearts for Wolf Link, and then you can translate that to Breath of the Wild. But I feel like if that was already important with Skyward Sword into Breath of the Wild 2, they would have already done that. So I think it will still be compatible with Breath of the Wild 2, along with other Zelda Amiibos and even like the Link's Awakening ones and like those newer ones. But in terms of special things, I don't think so. I think they're going to keep them all balanced for that reason. So
right now, like the fact that Alex and Don are gone right now. Okay, it'll be fine. We'll spiel them over again. But I really like how I got all those perspectives from you guys, because this is something I've been really thinking. And now we're going into the Breath of the Wild 2 territory, in which when can we expect the announcement? When are they going to really go crazy with the 35th anniversary and stuff? Conrad, I'm gonna give it to you right now, but I'm like, this is what I'm setting up, right? To me, the Age of Calamity DLC actually gave us a hint on when we can expect when they're gonna start their 35th anniversary celebration, when they're really gonna go deep with Breath of the Wild 2 and whatnot, because I feel the whole celebration is going to be geared around that of Breath of the Wild 2's final, reveal, the name drop, the date and whatnot, Amiibo functionality and stuff. Because the reason why they're not telling us about potential Amiibo functionality that could be in Breath of the Wild 2 is because they can't, talk about it without talking more about Breath of the Wild 2, which they don't want to do right now, right? So I feel like down the line, closer to release, closer to when they're announcing the 35th anniversary stuff, they're going to show off a new Amiibo. They're going to be talking about the Amiibo support. And it's like, oh, this is what the Amiibo can do in Breath of the Wild 2. But at that point, we already know what Breath of the Wild 2 is. We're going to know what the name is. We're going to see gameplay. We're going to see all of that. And I feel that's all going to be tied to the DLC when it's able to be purchased in Age of Calamity, which is the end of May. I really do believe the 35th anniversary is going to kick off for Zelda in terms of Breath of the Wild 2, final reveal, them talking about more Skyward Sword, how it can connect to Breath of the Wild 2, why you should play this game, why you should get this Amiibo, and then what Amiibo does in Breath of the Wild 2, because they're setting up the big like interconnected reveal around May, centered around the Age of Calamity DLC purchase drop, in which the new weapon and the new costume for Link, I feel, could be Link's Breath of the Wild 2 tunic and the green arm-powered Master Sword from the trailer. I think those are going to be the purchase bonus in May. And then they're like, oh, if you like that, you know, and then they show us the Breath of the Wild 2 trailer. And then they're like, oh, if you like that, check this out. And then the Age of Calamity DLC run down. And it's like, oh, you can get these things to celebrate the reveal of Breath of the Wild 2 today or tomorrow or next week. That's what I think is going to go down. I feel like they're all just setting it all up. And it's going to be after a good point in time, after Pokemon Snap comes out, after Monster Hunter Rise comes out, and literally leading into E3 time. Guys, I feel in my bones May. So what do you think, Conrad?
Personally, I think they're going to stick to E3. New Zelda games are so special, and they always save those new trailers for very special occasions. We can go a little bit down history lane when it comes to how Breath of the Wild was shown. Breath of the Wild was shown in 2014 at the E3, then Game Awards. In 2015, we got that small snippet in that Nintendo Direct teasing 2016, which turned out to be wrong, since obviously we all know how it went. Then again, E3 2016, the reveal of the Switch, and then the Game Awards again, and then Nintendo Switch presentation. I'm telling you, E3 is when it's happening. It's going to be digital this year, Nintendo's going to be present, and Breath of the Wild 2 is going to come back. And I wouldn't be surprised...
Are they though?
Yes, I think they will. And the reason is... the fact that last year they were afraid because of the whole new systems thing and so on. That was obviously, you can say, oh, okay, that had nothing to do with it. But obviously, when you're thinking about it, they have new hardware, we have not. So we're just going to ditch it. But this year they have no reasons to not. And they might even have hardware themselves. So that would bring an even bigger argument to capture that week, just like Sony did last year. Because what Sony did during E3 week last year was just pure genius. First they said they're not going to E3, and then they bombarded everyone and stole the attention of absolutely everyone. And then look at what PlayStation 5 is doing. It's already on a good track to replicate what they did with the PS4.
Welcome back, Don.
Sorry, I was about to explode.
No, you're good.
I was alone on the bottom.
Yeah, the bar was like, who could it be now? But Conrad, I you know, at any point other than the history of time, since the beginning of time, I would agree with you. But we're living in a different day and age now, where E3 literally only said their intention of having a show, and you know, we like, bro, we already know the distrust of the ESA, the E3, you know, corporation, stuff like that, the leak of the names, how, you know, they've been handling the show. Jeff Keighley left. They didn't have a show last year, obviously, due to COVID and whatnot, and they're planning to do all digital. Now, like, honestly, from what, you know, has been revealed about the E3 show, apparently, developers and publishers need to pay a six-figure sum in order to show up at E3. So Nintendo, that the people who literally pioneered the digital event stuff with the directs, like, I really don't see them paying that much money to appear at E3 when they can literally do their own thing around the same time themselves and save the money. So, or even earlier around the time. I you know, honestly, E3 may not even happen, and I really don't see Nintendo being at E3 this year. But I definitely get what you say, but I'm a hold fast to
I have a small rebuttal to that, though, and the fact is, Zelda Breath of the Wild captured so many people that normally don't play Nintendo.
Right.
But I think it's crucial for them to be there when those that huge demographic, because we need to remember that we have this massive gap in the Zelda fan base now of people that are open world fanboys and others that are all Zelda games fanboys. And that is that gap has become so apparent because the gap between the sales of Breath of the Wild and the other Zeldas is just staggering. And most people who play Breath of the Wild is like, oh, these are not open world, I'm not going to play them. I hate that. You hate that. We all hate that. But that's unfortunately the reality. Like Angry Joe, for example, he had not played a single Zelda game until Breath of the Wild.
Oof.
And that's how I think a lot of people came into Breath of the Wild. And that's probably around 30 to 40% of the people that bought the game.
Right.
Actually, I think that's the case.
And like I definitely understand what you're saying, because Breath of the Wild was a great entry point for Zelda people, and some of the time people go back and they enjoy other games like, oh, this is where Zelda came from, and a lot of time other people are like, oh, it's not open world, not time of day, Skyward Sword, but that's bad because the games are amazing. But going off that tangent, I want to hear what you think, Croton, about the whole idea of when the Breath of the Wild 2 could have its final explosive reveal this year that they promised us.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, we're talking about E3, and E3 is obviously like early, mid-June, like kind of in that region. And now that you mentioned the Age of Calamity expansion pass, that purchase bonus, like, I remember when we got the screenshot of like what we're all getting, it says like the purchase bonus, wave 1, wave 2. It was so vague that it made me think instantly to Breath of the Wild 2. Like, when I think it was the wave 1 was talking about that they're adding newly like, or just like new enemies in general. Like, it's like, are these enemies that we've seen already? I mean, Age of Calamity already included most of Breath of the Wild stuff, or is this are these like enemies that are gonna appear in like a Breath of the Wild 2 trailer and are also gonna appear in Age of Calamity? Because just because we've seen a lot of enemies in Breath of the Wild doesn't mean that they're ones that just weren't shown in that game, that they could incorporate the both. So that's what I was thinking.
That's really
initially.
Cool. I like that a lot. That that literally just went over my head like that. I like that. They literally have a trailer beforehand showing off these new weird spooky enemies. Like they finally bring back Redeads or Pose or anything like that, and then they literally stick them in Age of Calamity. Okay.
I would love that so much, because they'll bring more continuity to like the Breath of the Wild era than Breath of the Wild 2 era, and that could work well. And with the early like release of like the Age of Calamity like purchase bonus, which was May 28th, like, what if it could just be that day? Like, I don't know, it's such a weird thing, but they could have the Breath of the Wild 2 trailer, Age of Calamity stuff. Like, what if it's just like an indirect tease to being that day? And hey, like, if they show off all the Breath of the Wild 2 stuff that day, that's one of the big gaming announcements before everyone else's like E3 sort of stuff. Because if it's a digital event, companies can have some more leeway with when they're showing stuff off. So, I mean, to even get more people like invest in Zelda stuff, if Zelda stuff is some of the biggest announcements in the industry first, happens late May, Breath of the Wild 2 stuff, it doesn't get overrun. It just explosive start.
Right, and they don't have to like compete, and like they don't have to compete with other big announcements, and then other people don't have to worry about competing with a big announcement like Zelda. So I feel like it's a win-win situation for everyone. And I feel like at this point in time, with everyone staying indoors, I feel like the industry is like literally keen to like probably talking among themselves, like, hey, listen, we're gonna do this here, so that whatever you're planning to do, it doesn't get cannibalized by our hype. I feel that's happening, especially ever since the Game Awards, where they had Reggie, Phil Spencer, and I forgot the dude from PlayStation, the guy who was leading the Crash revival, had them all on stage. I'm like, see, the console wars are over, guys. The console wars are dead. All right, but
because it's still business, but it's all just individual games. They're all art, like that's the way I see it. So
exactly. So I'm gonna go ahead and toss it over to Bandit before I bring Alex and Don back into the know. So Bandit, what do you think about that? And when do you think we're finally gonna get the explosion of Breath of the Wild 2 news that we're promised?
What did I think about what specifically? Sorry, we've been all over the place. So what are we bringing it back to?
The Breath of the Wild 2 explosion of news. When do you think that's gonna happen?
I think E3 is definitely, I don't know, E3 is definitely the like apex of news, right? It's the Christmas in the middle of the year, and Nintendo, I mean, that's where Breath of the Wild 2 was born. We can't forget that. But Nintendo has been gearing us all up to take the it's all about expectations, right? Nintendo's been gearing us up to take our expectations of what they should do out of the picture. Like they don't have to do anything. They don't have to tell us, about their next AAA titles when everybody else does. They can at any point just let a single tweet out, and then millions and millions and millions of people get hyped about the Direct happening that next day. Or, so I'm like a 60-40 split. Like, I'm 60% sure that, like, E3 is going to have some Breath of the Wild 2 news. Because it just makes sense from, like, where it came from, gaming in general. But I'm about 40% sure that because I'm 60% sure that that's going to happen, it's not going to happen. So it's just going to be a shadow drop, like they essentially invented and have been sticking with this entire time. So, I mean, it really is up in the air. They promised that it would be later this year, so, one would think that E3 is a pretty good shot.
Right.
But, but,
I definitely
we'll
feel
just
that.
see.
So to bring you guys up to speed, Don and Alex. So basically, I start off this conversation with thinking about how there could be this big interconnected final reveal for Breath of the Wild 2 later on this year that Aonuma promised us that could incorporate aspects of the 35th anniversary, Age of Calamity, and Skyward Sword HD, and that's why we didn't get a reveal of an Amiibo or Amiibo support in particular, because it all ties into the Age of Calamity purchase date of the DLC, which is late May, literally May 28th, where that could be around the time where they finally reveal their news, in which they set us up with a Breath of the Wild 2 trailer, give us the name and whatnot, give us some aspects, and the fact that the Age of Calamity literally says, oh, for purchasing bonus, you get a new costume for Link and a new sword for Link. And that costume could literally be Link's Breath of the Wild 2 tunic from the trailer and a empowered green Master Sword empowered by the arm from the Breath of the Wild 2 trailer. And then that could spill over into like, oh, and if you want to learn the origins of Fi and the goddess Hylia, play Skyward Sword, because if you do and use this Amiibo, then you could put this into Breath of the Wild 2, because the reason why they're not talking about it now is because they would have to talk about Breath of the Wild 2, which they don't. And that could literally set up for even more news around E3, something in May, and then like, oh, join it. Like, they could literally go, like, run with it, go balls to the wall with it, where they start in May, and they're like, oh, join us at E3 a month later for even more news on Breath of the Wild 2, and then more news here, and then, all these events leading into a possible holiday release or 2022. I wouldn't know. So let's start off with Don. What do you think about that whole spiel, and when do you think we're going to get the 35th anniversary news along with the big reveal of Breath of the Wild 2 were promised?
I don't know about all the Amiibo stuff. I'm not really knowledgeable about that stuff. But one of the first things, let me just say real quick first before I say what I want to say. I really loved your mindset about this whole situation. Like, I saw your tweet on Twitter. It was like, we're getting Breath of the Wild 2 news this year, guys.
Yeah.
And that is such an amazing mindset to me, because most people would have been totally devastated, angry,
Most people
salty,
were.
whatever they about the fact that we didn't see Breath of the Wild 2 at the latest Direct.
Right.
And you were like, hey man, they said we would get it this year, so finally we don't have to guess anymore.
Exactly, we're not left in the dark. So I mean, like, it's better to have that than to like, oh, imagine Aonuma literally just said, oh, we don't have anything to share about Breath of the Wild 2. We'll have to ask you to wait a little bit longer. Bows, and then that's it. Not even like the this year confirmation. You just without it. Just imagine that. The fact that like, oh, it's happening this year. All right, guys. So like, this is when you should be primed up. And I'm like, okay, I appreciate that. People complaining about that. I'm like, really? Like, I understand it hurts, but I mean, we did get Skyward Sword HD confirmation. Come on.
Yeah. Like, at least they gave us something to like. Last year we didn't know anything. We didn't know if we were going to see anything or what, or it ended up being nothing. But at least this time we got it. But in
so
terms
positive.
of,
He said,
You said you're so positive.
Somebody has to be.
It's just a great way to look at things. I think
It's the best way.
But in terms of when it comes to the whole not seeing Breath of the Wild at the latest Direct, I feel like they're holding the game back on purpose for a very good reason. Because you're not going to tell me that after 1.5 years after the release, they don't have anything to muster up, I don't know, like a teaser or a name reveal. Or I feel like they're taking on a very different approach to Breath of the Wild. Because Breath of the Wild was kind of like... it ended up being a great game, but the whole lead up to the game was pretty rocky if you think about it.
Extremely rocky.
Yeah, first they announced the game, then not even a half year later they come with some beta gameplay demonstration, which ended up not being nothing like the game, at least in a lot of ways. Then they were like, yeah, it's gonna come in 2015, man. Yeah. It's gonna happen.
When they
Then
said
we
that, I'm
didn't-
like, yeah, sure, okay, 2015,
Then-
right? Like,
Yeah. Then we didn't hear anything about the game for close to a year until the Twilight Princess little teaser, which still was pretty much nothing. And then finally we got that trailer where we saw the Sheikah Slate for the first time, and then we had the Switch reveal and the big trailer, the epic trailer. And I feel like with Breath of the Wild 2, they're doing it a little bit differently. They want to show it when it's already like done, when it's already close to being completed.
right.
So they're holding the game back for a good reason. And if like I'm totally not a Switch Pro type of guy, I never talk about this on my on my channel or anything like that. But I do think that's probably also a reason they might be holding the game back, because they don't want to show the game now, because maybe they don't have the graphics are not going to look as great or whatever reason. But I feel like E3 might be definitely the point where they do want to show it at some point.
Right.
And I don't know if that's going to come like hand in hand with a Switch Pro reveal, but who knows? Like, I feel very confident about the E3 area. I don't know if they're going to take part in it, but yeah, they're holding the game back for a reason. There is no reason they couldn't have shown something. They are waiting for the right moment. So
Right.
that's my take on it.
I definitely feel that. Bandit, you had something to say?
I was just gonna throw in there. Does anybody remember distinctly said it was not going to release?
Wait. You kind of cut out there. Say it again.
Oh, I was gonna ask if anybody remembered. I am cutting out, aren't I?
You cut out again.
Yeah. Anyway.
All right, one more time.
I'm gonna speak real slow
All right.
so that Discord can pick up on all of it. But does anybody remember when that Breath of the Wild was not going to release with the Switch?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
And then it did.
I did.
So
And
anyway, it's like
honestly, I was kind of, I was like a little bit mad that happened. Just a little bit. But I mean, like, in hindsight, man, it was a really good move by Nintendo to do so.
it was either deliberate or accidental, right? But it was a lie either way.
Yeah.
So, but it built hype, an immense amount of hype. Anyway.
Nah, I definitely feel that. So, Alex, let me know what you think about when do you think the 35th anniversary is going to start, and when do you think we're finally going to get, Breath of the Wild stuff when it comes to 2? Okay.
I'm trying to be not too like hopeful about it, because about when.
Wait a minute, Alex, hold on.
It's like I feel
like you're lagging out this world.
Oh god.
It's all like catching up really fast.
It's all cyberpunk.
Oh shit.
Yeah, all right. I think we're caught up in real time now.
Hold on.
All right.
Snap back to reality.
Yeah, sentences are overlapping. It's
Watch your
very
profanity.
disorienting.
1, 2, 3. Talking.
All right.
Talking. Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you, but
Hold on.
your
Hello?
camera's
Talking.
all right.
We good? We good?
I think we're good.
Hello?
Yeah.
You sound
Hello?
beautiful.
Yeah.
Hello. We good?
It's good.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I okay, cool. I was just saying that I don't think we'll see anything until maybe April at the earliest, because they want to finish off Mario's anniversary. Because if Zelda was announced anniversary-wise, Mario would get completely overshadowed,
Right.
without a doubt. Because everybody.
Mhm.
So, April or May probably. I'd say E3 is also a promising time. I think Aonuma and the team are hoping for E3. It just depends on how fast and things are ready to be announced by E3. If
Right.
not, probably November time or September. at the latest. But I think E3 is their goal.
That's nah. Don't say
think at
those
E3
months.
We'll get a legit name drop with no actual release date. Like,
I'm not
actual name.
Right. I'm not particularly in a rush.
To
Did it repeat?
Froze.
No, it just froze.
Now you froze. All right. You're good.
Okay.
All right. So
okay.
I was gonna say that I'm not too keen on I'm definitely not in a rush for a release date or release year. I mean, a year would be nice, but I'm not in a rush for a release date. Like if they was like 2021, I'm like, okay, 2022, fine. But I'm like, I just need more information. I need to know how Breath of the Wild 2 is gonna set itself apart from Breath of the Wild 1. Right, in terms of gameplay, in terms of exploration, in terms of story. I mean, we saw many ways of how they were able to do so with the inclusion of Ganondorf. I was like, yo, what? That got me hyped, right? And all things considered, of how Breath of the Wild 2 could finally have its huge reveal and stuff like that. A question that I feel like is going to be very important, because I saw that some of you guys brought up the whole idea of they want to wait until after a certain point in time, or until after a certain release, or until after a certain thing to talk more about Breath of the Wild 2. And the one thing that I'm holding fast that's not going to be what I'm about to bring up is that it's Amiibo support from Skyward Sword HD to Breath of the Wild 2. But I'm going to throw the question to Bandit first on, do you think that, everything considered, E3 time, whatever, do you think they're not going to talk about Breath of the Wild 2 until Skyward Sword HD comes out?
Definitely. And I think we can kind of pull a little bit, kind of pull the end of Aunuma's segment in the direct. They're very clearly trying to, kind of like what Conrad said, there are a lot of people, and you see how I just pointed up at him?
Nice.
Kind of like what Conrad said. But there are a lot of people that are new to Breath of the Wild, or new to Zelda in general, from Breath of the Wild. And this is not any, it is the most true for Skyward Sword. As far as flagship Zelda games go, Skyward Sword didn't sell very well. They know that. We know that. If we know that, they know that. So, they are re-releasing this in HD, and at the end, it was as if he was talking to those people. The people that have never played Skyward Sword, who, hopped on the bandwagon. Sorry, not the bandwagon. Hopped in the fan train with Breath of the Wild. The fan train, right? It's a little more endearing, maybe, than bandwagon. Anyway.
Nicer.
But, it's nicer. It's nicer. The people who, are here because of Breath of the Wild, that message was for them. And I don't think necessarily that they would shoot themselves in the foot with that. I think they're going to ride Skyward Sword out. I think they do want it to do well. Otherwise they wouldn't have priced it at $60. They do want it to release, as the next Zelda game. And it's on the Switch. I think it's going to do as well. Well, okay, it might not do as well as its first release, but I think it's going to do pretty well. So yeah, I don't think necessarily that they would be too keen on distracting people from concentrating on what they're trying to promote.
Right.
Currently, which is Skyward Sword HD. And that's just, logically what makes sense to me.
No, I definitely get that, because it could possibly get in the way and cannibalize sales and stuff. And right. I like how you brought up, maybe it'll not do as well as the initial release, because Austin brought this up earlier on the Discord, that Skyward Sword's numbers almost hit 5 million. But it's a little short, 4.8, 4.9 million. I'm not going to bring it up again. But I feel that on a console like the Switch, I feel that Skyward Sword HD can sell more than the original Wii release. Because we saw Wind Waker HD sell as much as around, I think it was 2 million or, okay, I want to make sure, 2 million or 4 million. All right.
I probably contributed to half of those.
All right, 2 million. Yeah, as much as 2 million sales on the Wii U. Dang. I'm like, damn, that many people have Wii U's? That's crazy, man. So I feel
that was all of them.
Okay, rephrase. It's not even almost 5 million sales. Skyward Sword sold about 3.6 million units on the Wii. I feel it has the capacity to sell. Easily. I really think that the Switch version can beat that out easily. Yeah. So maybe like the combined sales when Skyward Sword HD comes out, it could be like I feel like combined sales could push it up to around like 7.5 million. I feel like this is gonna sell around like 4 million units. Honestly.
Man, I would love that.
Well,
And I'm
do
gonna
you think it
whatever
would?
I can.
Oh, sorry.
Go for it.
Go ahead. Oh, do you think it could surpass Link's Awakening on Switch?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I mean,
'Cause that was
the
already around
non-top-down
5,
games,
right?
Yeah. I'm gonna find out like Link's Awakening. I feel like any game could outsell Link's Awakening, man.
Link's
Like,
Awakening's numbers doubled with the Switch release, though.
It did.
Almost.
It
Yeah.
did. It did.
Yeah.
Link's
Okay, so Link's Awakening
sold
sold-
surprisingly well.
Yes, Link's Awakening sold 4.5 million units. I think Skyward Sword can beat that. I think Skyward Sword can beat that.
Easily within the first year, probably. Because like
Within the first month. Within the first month.
3 years old.
Oh my God. It's in that same year frame as Breath of the Wild 2, so like that could just be a huge boost for it already. And like Skyward Sword, it's like people grab onto like more of those like 3D big games more anyways compared to like Link's Awakening. So Skyward Sword is gonna greatly outsell Link's Awakening. in my
I
opinion.
think so too. And then, like you said, I think it's gonna rubber band that hype easily for Breath of the Wild 2 and stuff. And it's funny,
Oh, for sure.
every time there's a new Zelda release, obviously after that, Breath of the Wild sales keep going up. Like Breath of the Wild released in 2017. When Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition came out, more people bought Breath of the Wild. When Link's Awakening came out in 2019, more people bought Breath of the Wild. Age of Calamity came out, people went back, bought more Breath of the Wild. Skyward Sword is going to come out, and then people are going to buy more Breath of the Wild. And then Breath of the Wild 2 is going to come out, and it's going to... Oh my god, Breath of the Wild 2 is going to make so much money. Man, that's probably why Nintendo's waiting so long. They're like, we got to make this right. Because Breath of the Wild right now is sitting at a combined... Oh my god, that's so adorable. Like, listen, the reason why I'm saying that is because Breath of the Wild is sitting at a total of 23 million units, right? That literally blows every other Zelda game on this list out of the water by a lot, right? And I'm looking at the sales here. Switch version, 21 million units. Wii version, 1.6 million units. I'm like, that's adorable, man.
Hey, that's 1.6.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a lot. It's a lot more than other games. Like, like I want to bring up what I said earlier in the chat. That Star Fox is dead, and then people don't believe me. It's like, Star Fox not dead, bro. Star Fox could not break 200,000 units on the Wii U. Star Fox Zero could not break 200. It sold. It sold like dog shit, bro. That shit sold so badly.
I remember buying that for like $5 at GameStop once. So like that's about where it was.
It sold like Omega bad, right? So for Breath of the Wild selling like 1.6 million units, and I'm like, damn, this is on the same console that killed Star Fox. That's crazy, bro.
By the way, can I quickly say like about the stuff that Bandit said before?
Go ahead.
The whole idea that they won't show Breath of the Wild 2 until Skyward Sword releases. But wouldn't it actually boost Skyward Sword's sales if Breath of the Wild 2 and it like maybe some Amiibo stuff is announced before that? Because we're talking about news here. We're not talking about the release of Breath of the Wild 2. Like suppose at around the E3 time they finally show Breath of the Wild 2, and maybe they even show some of the stuff, the compatibility it has to Skyward Sword. Wouldn't that make Skyward Sword even more hype? Wouldn't that make people buy the game even?
Yeah, definitely. I agree. Conrad, go ahead. No, I definitely agree, Don. Like, because that's I feel I call it the rubber band hype effect and stuff, where they literally just like, they announce news and like, what's available now, Skyward Sword. So, Conrad, what do you got to say?
Mm-hmm.
I think the ideal strategy for all of this is actually not to hold back. I think the more you tie in Skyward Sword to Breath of the Wild 2, the more you're going to get this boomerang effect that people are going to see okay, Breath of the Wild 2 is still a long way away, but I can get a sense of what we can expect lore-wise, story-wise, and so on by playing Skyward Sword. And that's why I think showing Breath of the Wild 2
Sorry, I'm
first
gone.
after Skyward
He's gone.
Sword is out is, in my opinion, a mistake. Because the more you tie that game to Breath of the Wild 2 and Breath of the Wild, the more likely the Breath of the Wild crowd is also willing to dip to it. Because it's a careful balance that we're talking about. Convincing. Because so far, these other Zelda releases have struggled to convince the big audience, like say 10 million of the 20-something million Breath of the Wild sales. When you convince those to tip their toes into something else, that's when Zelda is going to have a lasting change, and it's going to make every other Zelda game, no matter what it is, succeed on a level that we haven't seen before. Because what Nintendo is trying to do, they're experimenting. They're trying to replicate this whole Breath of the Wild success story, because Nintendo is a little bit under a pressure situation right now. They need to replicate Breath of the Wild again, and Nintendo has sky-high expectations as to sales of Breath of the Wild 2, and they expect also future Zeldas to sell this way.
Right.
And it is a big challenge unless you do it open world. Because which games are selling? It's open world games and it's shooters. Just look at the sales of Skyrim, Witcher 3, GTA 5, Red Dead Redemption 2. That's where Zelda Breath of the Wild is. And if Nintendo wants to bring some of those people over, they need to tie their other Zelda games as much as possible to these open world experiences. Because that's their only hope of getting those numbers, at least some of it, over to those other games.
Right. No, I definitely get that. Whoa! Yo,
I went for a tumble there.
Yeah, Don's taking this for a ride.
Sorry.
But I definitely get what you mean on all that front and stuff. It's just that, I feel like I really don't want to call Breath of the Wild lightning in the bottle. But I mean, like, I felt like all the stars aligned for its release and for what people expected it and didn't expect for The Legend of Zelda and stuff. And I feel that obviously, Zelda fans are going to be on lock for Breath of the Wild 2, especially with the return of Ganondorf and with the darker elements and with how they're going to adapt Breath of the Wild's world over again for the sequel, build upon that. Zelda fans are on lock. It's just that we have to really, not we, but I mean, Nintendo really has to, figure out a strategy in order to replicate that for the casual audience all over again. I mean, most of the legwork was kind of done already for them by having the game release with the Switch. So, when you go pick up your Switch, what would you like to have with your Switch? Breath of the Wild or 1-2 Switch? I mean, I got both, but I mean, shit, the choice is not, the choice is clear when you pick up your Switch. The choice is no longer that clear, 4 years into the Switch's lifespan. And, they have to give reason for the casual market to buy Breath of the Wild 2 all over again, to fall in love with that title all over again. And I feel that's going to be the biggest challenge. And I do agree with Conrad saying that they literally can't hold anything back on that front. Sure, maximizing sales on terms of individual games makes sense when you don't want another game to cannibalize another, but then when you have so many games related to one specific franchise and stuff, you really need to go balls to the wall in order to keep people in the aware zone, in order to give them the invisible hand, in order to eventually get them to go buy Breath of the Wild 2 when the time comes. So you have to keep that memory of Zelda alive, especially considering that the 35th anniversary is happening this year. I feel Nintendo really doesn't have the luxury to play hanky-panky if they want to replicate even a fraction of the success that Breath of the Wild had with Breath of the Wild 2. I'm sure it's inherent for people like us, but it's not so much for people on the outside. That's what I feel is a good consensus that Conrad brought up, and that's my spiel. But I want to go ahead and throw the ball over to Croton to see if he can make sense of this whole situation.
Okay. Okay, for that one more time. Sorry, I half spaced out there.
No, you're good. You're good.
My
Just
apologies.
how do you feel Nintendo's going to strategize in terms of, Skyward Swords hype, Breath of the Wild 2's hype? What do you think they're going to, really encapsulate in terms of, selling this game? Why do they have to, what reason do they have to build upon for, everyone else that isn't a Zelda fan in order to invest into Breath of the Wild 2? Should Skyward Sword be, should they keep their, their lips shut before Skyward Sword releases? Do you think that's going to work against Skyward Sword or work for Skyward Sword? What do you think?
Well, as you said earlier about like hype rubber banding off each other and like
Right.
different elements, or like, you know, obviously you have Breath of the Wild 2 as your main selling points, but because of how popular the Breath of the Wild line of thing is, like it's naturally going to make other games or other things that they do just a lot more popular. Like Age of Calamity was a big example, but even stuff like Link's Awakening. And honestly, the way I see it with the timing that they want to get out certain announcements, like we were talking about the possibility of end of May, give like some good like just Breath of the Wild 2 info like that, segue that into the Age of Calamity stuff with like what they're doing for like the bonus and the expansion pass, which can help out that game. And then since it's all Zelda stuff, they may even say something more about Skyward Sword HD during that same thing, which is, since everyone's already hyped up for Breath of the Wild 2, that helps boost the numbers of that game. And because of that, they effectively just gave more focus to the non-Breath of the Wild games a lot more. So obviously Age of Calamity is a spinoff, but like with Skyward Sword, people liking that formula, they're like, okay, so they're more hyped for it. They may check out Skyward Sword HD, and then they'll be like, huh, what else is there on Switch? Oh, well, not exactly the same, but there is the Link's Awakening game, and you know, it still is this old like Zelda formula, so it still kind of, you know, fills in that craving a bit until we get, you know, more older Zelda games to the Switch, whether it's like the ports of Twilight Princess, Wind Waker, stuff like that. So
No,
that's honestly what I'm thinking.
I definitely get that. You know, it's just like this whole situation is really, really weird because I mean, sure, it's replicating something very similar to how the Zelda team handled Breath of the Wild, in which it was like, oh, Breath of the Wild is coming, it's in development, but while you wait, here's Wind Waker HD. Oh, is Breath of the Wild ready? No, it's not ready yet, but while you wait, here's Twilight Princess HD, and you know, all that good jazz and stuff. Like, oh, Hyrule Warriors is a game, guys. Don't forget, you know, that's not the next Zelda game, but Hyrule Warriors is a thing. And then here we have, you know, Breath of the Wild 2. We're waiting. It's like, is Breath of the Wild 2 ready? It's like, no, but while you wait, here's Link's Awakening. And is Breath of the Wild 2 ready? No, while you wait, here's Age of Calamity. Okay, is Breath of the Wild 2 ready? It's like, no, but while you wait, here's Skyward Sword HD. So it's gonna be, it's like, it's a very similar situation, but I feel like unless they're really priming up this game to like release alongside the Pro, the supposed Nintendo Switch Pro, then the end result is gonna be quite different from how Breath of the Wild is gonna be and stuff. But all things considered, you know, this is the year of the 35th anniversary. Like, Breath of the Wild narrowly missed out on the 30th anniversary, because the 30th anniversary was 2016, right? And then Twilight Princess HD release, but Breath of the
It was
Wild,
the Switch.
yeah,
It was the Switch. It was the Switch that caused that.
yeah.
That delay was caused by the Switch.
Definitely, I believe that.
Worth it.
But I feel it was smarter for them to put it on the Switch. So that means that they had to bite that bullet literally. I felt like Breath of the Wild would have lost its punch if they decided to release, let's say, Breath of the Wild in November of 2016 on the Wii U, but then when the Switch came out, they're like, oh, it's also coming to the Switch, and then like, oh, but I mean, like, that's, you know, 3-4 months later afterwards, am I gonna buy the game again and stuff? So I felt like that was a good way to pick their spot. But all things considered, with the Zelda 35th anniversary, shifting gears a little bit, I want to throw the ball over to Alex and ask you, you know, obviously represent Zelda universe, the universe of Zelda. What do you think Nintendo, like, besides the obvious, do you think Nintendo's planning anything like super special or super crazy when it comes to the 35th anniversary of Zelda? I want to hear your thoughts.
I really want to believe there's a lot of big announcements to be made still this year, but I think I need to temper my expectations a little bit just so I don't get disappointed.
You have to hope again. Like,
but here's the thing. The last big anniversary in 2016, they were hoping Breath of the Wild was going to come out in 2016 until it got delayed.
Yep.
Again. The most we got from 2016 was Twilight Princess HD, Hyrule Warriors Legends, and Amiibo. And that was it, I'm pretty sure. It was a very underwhelming anniversary, especially for the big 30.
Right.
So I'm left a little skeptic on 35, but you know, seeing how Mario was you know, blown up to celebrate its 35th anniversary, I'm hopeful Breath of the Wild will have, or not Breath of the Wild, Zelda. Well, I'll get into that in a minute, but hopeful Zelda will, but it wouldn't surprise me if like we got like a handful of like Zelda stuff that's all Breath of the Wild themed, because it just seems like Breath of the Wild just like markets really well now, because it hit really hard. It hit hard when it launched, and it's still very valuable. Yeah. So overall, obviously yes, I want anything Zelda, because like one, it's what our content depends on to cover on the site, on the YouTube channel, everywhere that we do coverage. So that'd be great. Hopefully Skyward Sword is just the appetizer, and that the Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, Breath of the Wild, and information and other stuff is announced. That'd be cool. I'm hopeful for this year, but I want to be carefully optimistic, because Nintendo tends to not do the expected all the time.
Right. I definitely feel that.
I'm carefully hopeful.
Right.
Anyway, unfortunately,
cautiously hopeful.
Yeah. Also, I want to mention too really fast, because we were talking about the delays about Breath of the Wild 1, and honestly, I think it's smart that they're more quiet this time around, because if they keep promising and talking about it, they're gonna backtrack on if things aren't going as planned.
Right.
But Aonuma says that things are going as planned, thankfully, because if we keep getting news that it's happening this year, no, it's happening this year, it's happening this year, then that was the worst part of Breath of the Wild's lead up to its release. By far, just like getting fans excited, but then to tell them to wait even longer, with a given promise that it's coming out this year, but no.
Right.
So, I think it's smart. I think it's smarter that they're learning. They're learning from last time.
Right.
With the pre-release and then the post-release, like, oh, this is what we can do differently to prepare for its launch, and this is what we can do for the game itself to let that from what we learned about people playing Breath of the Wild, this is what we can do to make the next game even better. So hopefully this is what they're developing to improve upon, both pre and post release.
Right. I definitely get that.
Anyway, with that, I do have to head out because I have to get some work done. So unfortunately, I gotta sign out.
All right, yo, thank you so much, Alex. I appreciate it. Later, Alex.
No problem. Yeah.
All right, thank you
so
much.
Have a good talk. Talk to you later.
Thank you.
Later.
See ya.
All right. Going off of that, Conrad got something to say, so go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk a little bit about, continue what Alex also was saying in regards to this whole build-up to the release. And there are two things that have an impact on the delays of new Zelda games. Number one, ambition, which was the first delay, no doubt about that. The whole Sheikah Slate Shrine technology theme, that was just completely expanded from the plan they had initially in 2014. The other thing, however, is hardware. And hardware is something that many tend to overlook when it comes to all of this. Because hardware is something that the Zelda team can do nothing about. It's just Nintendo telling them, okay, we need a Zelda game for this model system or whatever. So you need to delay this game no matter what, because we need you for this lineup that we're building up for this system. And that's exactly what happened in 2017. That's why 2017 was so incredible, because Nintendo was able to line up first Zelda, then Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. We all know how well that is selling.
It's
then
still selling really well. Like, holy shit.
Exactly. Then we had Splatoon 2. Then we had Super Mario Odyssey. And then we ended up with Xenoblade Chronicles 2. So what I'm thinking is that every year the Switch needs this massive, big seller. And in 2017, that was plenty of titles. That was Zelda, that was Mario. 2018, obviously Smash. There was no other title even close to that. Then we had in 2019 was Pokemon Sword and Shield, based on the sales numbers alone. 2020, Animal Crossing, not even a shadow of a doubt. And that's why I'm thinking that Breath of the Wild is still possible this year, because of the fact that I just don't see any other Nintendo games. We got Bowser's Fury, so it's not going to be 3D Mario, obviously, because 3D Mario has been way too busy. So are we supposed to go through this entire year without this big seller of Nintendo? Because they have burnt off their biggest hitters in terms of new releases. Animal Crossing, Pokemon, Mario Kart. Unless they have a new Mario Kart, of course, then I could see Breath of the Wild 2 being delayed to, well, not delayed, we don't have a date. Until, say, the 5th anniversary of Breath of the Wild. big celebration. Hey, Breath of the Wild turns 5 years old. Here is Breath of the Wild 2. And that is perfect marketing. By all means, celebrating the 5th anniversary of the Switch, 5th anniversary of Breath of the Wild, and here's the next installment. Thank you for waiting. Here it is. Just like last time, it's going to be incredible. Boom.
You know, like the 5th anniversary, the 5th dimension. Oh man, I just like bro, like 5 years. I mean, I understand that's fine because I mean, there's been like between main 3D Zelda games, Skyward Sword came out 2011, and then Breath of the Wild came out 2017. So I mean, that's been 6 years. I mean, like 5 years. I don't know. I really wanted Breath of the Wild 2 to come out 2020, and now with with all this possibilities of like, you know, the game possibly coming out 2022, I'm like, bro, like, how long are you gonna make me wait?
Yeah, I hate it as well.
Yeah, I hate it here, but I mean, like, it does make sense of possibilities on how they want to promote. But I mean, like we said earlier in the stream, you know, Nintendo has constantly been doing things where they move to the beat of their own drum, where they're shattering expectations. They're doing what they want. They could literally just shadow drop Breath of the Wild 2 and it'll still sell and stuff. So I mean, we're taking such a we're taking such a applied, you know, approach on what they've done before, in which like we're not understanding like the Wild Boy stuff they've been doing lately, especially with the Switch. I mean, look at Smash Bros. Ultimate. Like literally that game got announced March of 2018 and came out the same year. And I'm like, okay. So I mean, but Breath of the Wild 2 was announced in 2019, 2 years ago. But I am very appreciative of that trailer that we got, because you know, it's a lot more than just seeing a number 4, and it's a lot more than just seeing Bayonetta disintegrate and not knowing what's going on. We have like an identity behind Breath of the Wild 2. You know, Ganondorf is coming back. We knew that we're going back to the same world. We see that we got updated designs.
Zelda might be playable.
Yeah, like we got the updated designs for Link and Zelda. Zelda cut her hair. The malice did not go away. And you know what is going on? The underground, bro, shit got me hyped. But honestly,
such a cool trailer.
Like, it's such a good trailer. I'm excited for another. I'm excited for another trailer this year, and I'm excited for art, because man, can I say right now, I am in love with the Breath of the Wild art style, and the fact that we're getting so much new art pieces from Age of Calamity. I'm like, this was a gift. This was a gift. So
nice.
I'm ready for more.
Breath of the Wild is like the perfect combination. You know, the cell shading / a little lighter.
Yeah,
but also like a little bit more gritty. You know,
definitely. One word.
So yeah, it's
word.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
One word. Anime, manga style. Oh, that's what makes this art style so gorgeous.
And you know, like people sandbag this art style for not being photorealistic. I can't see the dimples in Link's cheeks. I can't see all the pores in his head. And I'm like, bro, like this art style is gonna age way better than whatever photorealistic style that you've got. Listen, I love Twilight Princess, but man, the art style did not age well.
Well, photorealistic is what ages, right?
Yeah.
This is what doesn't age.
Exactly,
yes.
and that's why I love. Yeah,
it's like a Wind Waker.
Man,
I mean, like,
Wind Waker.
Wind Waker is never going to age ever.
Exactly.
I can
That's
still
exactly
look
it.
at
It's
the game right
timeless.
now.
It's amazing.
Still looks amazing.
But
like I feel like photorealistic styles, like they're done a lot in the industry, but like Nintendo's one of the few companies that actually does something different, and it looks incredible, and their games stand out. It's like even with Zelda games, like every game is different, and even with like Twilight Princess, like yeah, it's the most realistic, but it's still not like a realistic style. Like look at just like character faces and stuff. Like they still do every game differently, and I appreciate the more artistic approach to like just art style. So
definitely,
well, if anything, probably the only Zelda game I would say, like with everything we've gotten so far, Skyward Sword was the only game that kind of looked dated before because it's not in HD. So
yeah.
I'm just so happy that we finally get to play this game in HD and just looking gorgeous, because it is a gorgeous game. It's just that the Wii couldn't handle it as well as like. You know,
I will
get
say
our own
this.
Footage.
right. Good.
Take it
good
from Zelda.
Bro,
Oh, yeah.
one thing I will say though that I'm kind of mad about is that like they reused art for the box art, and I'm like, you couldn't give us new art. Like Wind Waker HD gave us new updated art. Twilight Princess literally had new art pieces, and I'm like,
but HMK
couldn't give us new art. Yeah.
But HMK, it's no longer gold. That's the difference.
No, I don't want to hear it, Conrad. Like, over in your region, that's how your box art looked. Man, gold.
I know.
Gold was over here.
Let me get my box out, actually.
Exactly. I don't want to hear it. Like, it was gold over here, but over there, it's the same thing. Like, sure, it's different over here, but I mean, like, no, I have that poster. Like, where's that poster? Where's
Everybody's getting their stuff as comparison.
No, my Skyward Sword poster is over there. It's over there. It's like there.
It's literally the same, guys.
See that thing? It's the same.
Wait, I didn't even know that. I like that box art a lot, but I didn't know it was used before. I thought it was just always cool.
No. The box art that we're getting for the Switch version was used in the version overseas. Like the gold.
I mean,
was the one in
it's a pretty good looking box art. Like that looks amazing. So
at least you got a way better box art for Breath of the Wild, though. Our box art here in Europe is terrible.
Yeah, I don't like it.
It's interesting, but yeah, I think this American one looks better. So it is very unique, I would say.
I don't like it.
Look at this. This is
I don't like that. I don't like it. I don't like it.
This is just, what is this?
Okay, I have something that's going to make you a little bit jealous, but I love the Japanese box art of Breath of the Wild. Let me just show you.
Is it different in Japanese? I only know those two.
Right.
Yeah, that's way better. That's just so much better.
I should keep my boxes.
It's just a better angle in general. Oh, the Japanese one.
The Japanese one is really cool. I like that one. The Japanese one.
Use the original.
Yo, I got that.
I love it.
I got that big ass box over there too. Like
I got this day one. I was so just ecstatic for it. The shine on the Zelda.
Like I imported this Japanese one all the way from Japan, empty, because I just love this whole Zelda 1 lettering. This is exactly the same letter they used in Zelda 1.
Oh, man. All right, so to end off the stream, guys, we have I have a gigantic announcement to make at the end of the stream. But before we get off to it, this is going to be the rollout towards the end of the stream. So now we have 5 Zelda tubers here at your mercy. It's question time, Q&A. Okay. Leave your questions in the chat, and the questions that you ask are not going to be specific questions. They're going to be questions that is going to go around the table. So ask carefully. So while they're doing that, did you guys get this? I don't know. I really liked it. It's smaller than I expected, but I like it.
What is that?
This is the acrylic plate that you can get from the My Nintendo Rewards thing. If you have I think 1,000 points, then you can get this. It's acrylic. It's nice. It's like glass, so it's really nice. It's right here on my Master Sword that I got from Target for like $1. Man, it lights up.
Oh, no way. It's literally right here.
Hey, see? Awesome. Same thing. Yep, that's the same one. I got to replace one of the batteries, though. Mine doesn't light up no more.
Oh, okay. That's I literally keep it on my TV.
Nice. All right. Here we go. All right. The first question, I can answer that. I mean, let's all answer it, guys. For Anthony, do you think there'll be a hard mode for Skyward Sword? There was a hero mode in the original, so yes. What do you think, Croton? Do you think this is gonna be a hard mode for Skyward Sword?
Well, I think the question is it going to be accessible from the start? Because in the original Skyward Sword, you have to beat it play the whole game. But since it's a remake, I have a feeling that they might make it available from the start. Because Wind Waker HD did that. Well, kind of, because they did a thing where you could actually switch between hard and normal mode. Yeah. But I think for this one, you can just choose from the start normal or hard. So I feel like it's fair for a remake.
I would definitely like that. In Commonwealth, what do you think?
I think all Zelda games should have multiple difficulties. After playing Witcher 3 on the Switch, let's just say on the Switch, having the say 4 or 5 difficulties to choose from, and then just switching between them at any point in the game, that is just perfect. Because you meet one of these difficult challenges, I don't get through them, then you can set it down and then set it up again. And I want that in all future Zelda games. Come on, don't give me Master Mode in a freaking DLC that you need to pay for. Put it into the $60 experience and make it available from the get-go. People that have played this game, they want to play the hard difficulty, so let them do it from the beginning of the game.
But you have to understand, Conrad, sometimes Breath of the Wild is hard. They didn't want no. I'm kidding. All right, I'm sorry. Bandit, what do you think? How do you think they should handle the hard mode the hero mode in Skyward Sword?
I mean, how they should and how they will are probably. Is it cutting me out again?
It cut you out one word. So I mean, if you want to say it again, yeah.
It's just censoring me, man. I'm just.
Yeah, you're too wild.
I'm too radical. Just sitting here very still. Anyway,
He's a bandit after all.
I am a bandit after all. They do have to watch out for me.
Yeah.
But no, I think it'll just work like it did with Wind Waker HD, or how did it work with Twilight Princess HD? Was it accessible from the start?
Yeah, it was, and then you could do Ganondorf's
it's,
Fury, which I call it.
And it's
okay, and there was
mirrored.
another one.
Yeah.
It's mirrored.
You remember
okay.
what Wii version? Yeah, Wii version, only hard.
Yep.
Right. Well, I mean, and that was kind of something that I'm sure they had that there, right? They had the Wii version and the GameCube version, and they decided to just kind of do something with it.
Right.
Skyward Sword doesn't really have anything like that, so I don't foresee them coming up with like a world-bending difficulty, like a Master Quest type, whatever. I think they're just gonna do classic Zelda, normal mode, hero mode.
Right.
And I do think that it'll be accessible from the start. That's just the only thing that really makes sense, to be honest. I do like the whole multiple scaling difficulties idea, like Conrad was saying. I mean, that's on the other hand, that's a new I don't know, staple for video games these days, especially open world games. But on the other hand, Skyward Sword is a decade old, and there's not the coding in there. It's not as simple as just okay, scale enemies' damage up a bit more, scale it down a bit more, put in some other levels. No, we got to think about Skyward Sword was the one that introduced gear that can get damaged and break, and and you can go upgrade it, and I don't think they're necessarily going to rewrite that for multiple difficulties.
Right.
So I just took 14 years to say I think there'll just be two modes, normal mode and hero mode.
Oh yeah. It's Skyward Sword.
Yeah.
I definitely get that.
Anyway.
What about you, Don? How do you think they're gonna approach the hard mode in Skyward Sword?
Yeah, same thing. It's gonna be two difficulties, normal and hero, and I do hope they add something that will stack, like they did with like you
With
said,
Ganondorf, the Ganondorf Amiibo. Yeah.
Oh
The mice
god, that
Amiibo.
was so amazing. I don't think they're gonna add anything in terms of what they did with Twilight Princess, with the Cave of Ordeals and stuff. I don't see that happening, to be honest.
Right.
So yeah, I think like how Conrad described it with the whole multiple difficulties. Yeah, it's cool. I recently played Horizon Zero Dawn for the first time. It is very handy that when you just are getting, because that game is hard. That game is hard even on normal. That game kicks your ass so much. So I was like, oh, there's a story mode where just the enemies don't do any damage almost, and you're just here for the cutscenes basically.
Right.
But I also kind of like that mentality, the old-fashioned mentality of Nintendo, just being like you're either gonna deal with it or not.
Right.
Like
I love that. Like, honestly, I think because Nintendo's always been they've always been big into mainly apparent in Zelda and Mario, just having a fixed difficulty, because the best thing about a fixed difficulty is it's the best way for a developer to communicate ideas to the player, where it's just hey, this is the challenge of the game. Everything's fixed throughout the length of it. And it's whenever there's difficulty spikes, that's universal across everyone. And if you're just not good enough, it's just kind of you get better. Like a game, even the older ones, like Ocarina of Time, I played those games when I was a lot younger, and those games kind of kicked my ass when I was younger. But instead of instinctually going to an easier difficulty, I find it honestly better to go through that challenge, because sometimes when you have a game that you can easily change the difficulty whenever you need to, it kind of ruins the appeal just a bit, because I feel like it should be a consistent experience. And I feel like with Nintendo just prioritizing one difficulty and then a harder, easier one that's specifically meant to be different, I feel like that's a better approach to go, so everyone has the same experience going to the game. It's not.
And it goes back to the whole old school arcade vibe, the roots.
Everyone has the same experience, and that just
because that's where Nintendo started.
Exactly.
The arcades.
So I've always been a big fan of that. For Mario, different example, Mario Odyssey, it has your normal mode, which is accessible for everyone. And I think Nintendo's big design philosophy too, which makes the single difficulty system better, or dual rather, is that they make games that are easily accessible to a lot of people, but if you really want to master them, they kind of make that difficulty curve pretty hard. Like Breath of the Wild, for an example, almost anyone can beat the game, because after doing the Divine Beast, you're pretty overpowered for facing Ganon. But doing a lot of the cool combat maneuvers, you have all the Breath of the Wild challenges out there. Like, that's only possible if you really invest into the game. And a lot of that can be done just on this single difficulty mode. Like, there is Master Mode, but all those other difficulties are meant for, like, a second playthrough. Like, it's not meant to be, like, choose between normal and hard. Like, it's like, hey, here's, like, a challenge for a second playthrough. And
For sure.
I think for, like, the remakes, like, they're going to put those harder modes in the remakes only because people have played the game, probably. Well, 4 people have played the game once on normal.
Though I
Like,
do have to say, I totally agree with Conrad in terms of it shouldn't be part of a DLC. Master mode it
Oh,
should
yeah,
not be
definitely not.
reserved for
Yeah,
that.
I agree. Yeah.
That's
I don't
just
think it will be.
nonsense.
Right. But all things considered, when we what do you call them? Wow, that question when it came to hard mode really just like lasted a lot longer than I thought it was gonna be. But moving forward, when it comes to questions and stuff, because I want to have 5 more minutes of question time and whatnot, let's try to have our answers like off the bat, because I want to try and get as many questions done before we go off the air. All right.
Right.
So the next question that I saw was that do you guys believe? And I'll start with me, and then I'll start off with Don this time, and we're gonna go reverse way. So do we believe that they'll reuse the engine of Breath of the Wild again after Breath of the Wild 2? Personally, I think that I like Breath of the Wild trilogy. I think we're gonna get a Breath of the Wild 3. I really do. Like setting up Ganondorf. I think Breath of the Wild 2 is gonna end in a really, really dark way. So yes, I think Breath of the Wild. I think they're gonna reuse the engine for one more Breath of the Wild game. So Don, what do you think?
I wouldn't necessarily say like the exact same engine, but I do think it's gonna probably trickle through into the next game. Just like they did with like a lot of people don't even know that the Wind Waker and Twilight Princess share the same engine.
Yeah,
They look so radically different.
it's hilarious because the engine that was used in Wind Waker, it's literally like up until Breath of the Wild, literally it was the same engine they used in from Ocarina of Time, and then it was the same engine from Super Mario 64. I'm telling you guys, the Zelda engine is old as fuck. So they took the Super Mario 64 engine, they heavily modified it for Ocarina of Time. Then they heavily modified it again for Majora's Mask. Then they heavily modified it again for Wind Waker. And then they heavily modified it again for Twilight Princess. And then they heavily modified it again for Skyward Sword. Breath of the Wild is the first 3D game to break the chain. So they made it like, and even even it's a new engine, they still borrowed elements from Skyward Sword in terms of character models, rigging, and animations. They still reuse a couple of things, and you can see that. But yeah, I definitely see that happening and stuff.
Yeah, especially since Breath of the Wild, in some ways, it is a bit similar to Ocarina of Time. It's this new start, so this is gonna definitely go on. But yeah.
Right.
Continue on the line.
I definitely see that, and I think that's more applicable and stuff. What about you, Bandit?
Oh, for sure. I would be incredibly surprised. And I cut out again. I would be very, very surprised if it was a different. They introduced the universal sandbox in Breath of the Wild.
Mhm.
Every rock falls with physics, every pebble, ragdoll physics for everybody's bodies, including Lynx. It is a new standard, and with the sequel, I don't see why they would build that from the ground up.
Right.
That's already an expectation going into the game, and honestly, going forward with the series, I can see the little green thing now. See, I'm on top of it.
All right.
Anyway, but and honestly, going forward in the series, I don't know why they would ever shy away. So in the similar vein of like, they do find ways to, even if they have to reinvent the wheel, they reinvent it within that engine. I see no reason to deviate from Breath of the Wild's engine because it can handle anything that they'd want it to do.
Right.
The only reason why they would is if they're going to radicalize the game yet again. But at this point, I mean, what more could they do? They got physics. They've got some magical way of loading the entirety of the map in a view distance. I mean, obviously, the particles are scaled down, but still,
it's
it's a beautiful engine.
Like,
yeah, it's a gorgeous, gorgeous engine. So yeah, no, I would be very surprised if they deviate from it.
I definitely feel that. All right, Croton, what do you think?
I spaced off for a second. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Do you think they'll reuse the Breath of the Wild engine again after Breath of the Wild 2?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I think that it's going to be an engine that lasts a while, just specifically because of how much development went into it after Skyward Sword. It was such a key feature to be like, hey, we need something that's more suitable for open worlds, having all the insane physics. So I feel like it could be changed a lot. Like, obviously, the sequel is going with a very similar art style, but who says that next games can't be modified even if they're using a different art style, just like the past entries? You could still have, everything they built up else about it. Like, it's a good engine for open world games, good for varying physics systems, and these are all probably going to be staples in these next few lines of 3D Zelda games. So That's how I see it. It's going to stay, but don't expect the art style to or anything like that, because just looking at the past 3D Zelda games, that'll differ. So,
all right, Conrad, what do you think?
Engine, definitely. It is the peak of the crop, literally. In gaming, there's only probably one game that has the same level of immersion at the moment, and that is Rockstar. And we all know how much resources, money, and so on Rockstar has for GTA and Red Dead Redemption 2. But art style, I think, is definitely going to change. The thing is, the Zelda team likes to keep things to one generation. They don't want to be bound too long to one specific era, time, and so on. And that's why I don't really believe in the idea of having Breath of the Wild, Breath of the Wild 2, Breath of the Wild 3. I think we got Age of Calamity in between there specifically to keep this together on one system, the Nintendo Switch, because the next Zelda game after Breath of the Wild will not be coming out on the Nintendo Switch. There's no way they are going to be able to finish that. Even if they're able to extend the life of the Switch with a Pro to say 2025, there's no way to have a new Zelda game after Breath of the Wild 2 out by the soonest 2026, which is open world. I'm sorry, but it's going to be a very long wait. One thing is when you have the assets, characters, art style, and so on, then it's easier. But I think that the Zelda team really wanted to just combine old and new in Breath of the Wild. And after that, on the next Nintendo system, after the Switch, they want to do something completely different, but by using the Breath of the Wild engine.
Right.
And literally, because if you look at all the Zelda games, which Zelda games sell, it's the Hyrule specific experiences. Zelda 1, Ocarina of Time, Twilight Princess, Breath of the Wild. What do all of them have in common? They're almost entirely set in Hyrule because people love this setting. They love this location. They love this duel with Link, Zelda, and Ganondorf Ganon. It just is Zelda, and it sells like nothing else in the franchise is able to. So I think that engine is going to stay for the next 10 years, at least. And then first, maybe after the console after the Switch is over, they might start working on a new one, because then it will be 10 years after Breath of the Wild, and it's time to maybe do updates more than just, say, a few mechanics here and there.
Right. Now, I do want to end off on one final question, because I found this question to be really interesting. So this is going to be the final question for the day, and then we're going to start doing our closing spiel, and then we're going to have a gigantic announcement at the end of the stream, so don't go anywhere, guys. The final question, which I found very interesting, is by Partyman, which says, question, would you like a Zelda game set in a modern setting? Now, obviously, I mean, like, modern, not like, because we technically have a modern setting, like, there's technology in Breath of the Wild, that's modern. I'm like, no, not that. I'm talking about, like, cities. Talking about TVs, I'm talking about like technology and stuff, and like actual modern setting. And I'm gonna give you the short answer right now. I would love that. And I always saw myself thinking about how Zelda would really work if like it was a modern dystopian setting and stuff, where like the different regions owned by the different regions run by the different cultures and different tribes, like the Zora, the Gorons, the Gerudo could be in charge of the industrial district. The Gorons could be part of the mining district, and so on and so forth and stuff. So I'm definitely down for an idea like that. But I'm gonna throw the ball over to Bandit first this time, and to ask you what you think. If would you like to see a Zelda game in a modern setting?
Well, no.
Oh, then that's fine. That's fine. That's fine.
No, it's, obviously there's, I think it would be cool, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that I have a necessarily super hard opinion on the matter. I mean, like, it would be Zelda at the end of the day.
Right.
And Link would probably drive a Ford Mustang, because I know he's a Ford Mustang kind of guy. Name her Epona. Anyway.
Motorcycle, man.
Or motorcycle. All right. Yeah, but
Motorcycle Zero,
old
yeah.
news, man. Old news. That's Breath of the Wild. We got to look to the future. Anyway, but no, like I am a traditionalist, but I'm not a traditionalist. I think that they have a formula that works very, very well in the environment that it's in, right? A fantasy world. I mean, why don't we see all the other open world games just being modern times? There's something disconnecting. I'm sorry, let me rephrase that.
Yeah.
There's something appealing about being disconnected. You know, I feel like the majority of gamers, if you invite them to a world that looks largely like the one they're already living in, you know, they'll be like, okay, I mean, that's cool, I guess. And then you say, hey, this is a futuristic world. And they go, ooh, I want to play that. Or they say, you know, hey, here's a world where there's dragons. You know, here's a
It
fantasy
could still
world where
have
there's
dragons in modern
it could.
sense, like, you know, Devil May Cry.
Right. But I mean, every little bit of fantasy that we add to even a modern world, I mean, what's to define it as modern in that case? You know what I mean? TVs, cars. You know, they could put that's
the fact that you don't have to use horse and carriage in order to transport your stuff.
So transport, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I could see them doing something like that in Breath of the Wild.
Exactly. That's
Yeah.
the weird thing. Like okay, see, okay. I was gonna say like electricity is like, but they have those traps that conduct electricity, literally electrical lines and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The return of
exactly.
rubber.
The return of rubber, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, Breath of the Wild toys a lot with, and then you know stylizes it like it was from the past. You know, so it's really unique. But you know, I guess yes and no, and that'll be my final bit to this little ramble here.
Right.
You know, it would obviously have to be in a very interesting way. But I personally believe that if you take a modern environment and then add certain fantastical elements to it, you'll come up with something that looks a lot like Breath of the Wild.
Right. I get that. I definitely get that. All right, let me throw it over to Conrad. What do you think? Would you want to see, because I saw you got hyped up a little bit, would you want to see a Zelda in a modern setting?
Okay, I'm gonna point it out because I hate modern cities personally. My biggest plan is just to move to a city that has an old town, that I can always get that old town feel,
Right.
and be able to move back in time. But to me, it's not much about having a city, because the modern setting means city, right? Everyone thinks city, right? I don't want that. And the reason why I don't want that is because Zelda is all about exploring nature. It's all about exploring landscapes. And what is synonymous with our own world? We have already discovered absolutely everything. We have wherever there's a city, there's not going to be much to explore in terms of landscapes.
I get that.
And I think what makes Breath of the Wild so special and what makes people love it is the fact that you have complete freedom to explore a massive chunk of wilderness. And within the settlements you're able to enter every building. Whenever you're going to put in a city, you will not be able to enter every building. Your immersion there will be limitations. You will feel that I'm not able to enter this building, I'm not able to enter this room, and so on. And that's why I think Zelda should... Yeah, and many other open world games out there. I just think that Zelda benefits from the grounded level, and that the ambition that they should go for is like adding the castle town that we didn't get in Breath of the Wild.
Right.
That is the level I want Zelda to stay at, and keep it there. Add new gameplay mechanics, elements, weapons, items, even play around with technology, but don't make the world modern. That's what I think is also why, say, CD Projekt Red didn't play around the idea of making Witcher in the future, you know?
Right.
Instead, they're working on Cyberpunk. And I think if Nintendo wants to make a futuristic series with Zelda gameplay mechanics, yeah, sure, go and do it.
But don't call it Zelda.
Put the Zelda name on it.
Right.
Exactly.
All right, so then we're going to throw it over to Don, and then we're going to end it off for Croton. All right, Don, what do you think about modern Zelda?
Yeah, I'm not a big fan, to be honest.
Damn, I'm going to be the only one. That's crazy. That's fine. Go ahead.
Well, it's just that I play like I'm a big Lord of the Rings type of guy. I
Right.
love fantasy. I love D&D. I love all that stuff.
Mhm.
And as soon as you bring modern elements into it, it's gonna lose that feeling to me. Like I'm also a big Fallout guy, and that is all about
Yes.
technology, like a world
Amen.
after technology.
Right.
Like if I want to play a game like that, I'll play Fallout, or I'll play Outer Worlds or Mass Effect. Or if I want to go full sci-fi, or
Right.
Zelda has always been my place to go when I want to go back to the sword. When I want to go back to sword and shields, and and Conrad also made a great point. The whole idea behind Zelda is that it takes place in a time where not everything has been discovered yet, and in our world, indeed, no matter where you go, someone has been there.
Right.
That kind of
Yeah.
defines modern, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
So thank you for that take, Don. And then we're ending off with Croton. Is it gonna be 2v3 or is it gonna be 1v4? Let's find out.
Well, I feel like games work well when they really double down, investing themselves in their own sort of worlds, like whatever that
You're
idea
really
is.
gonna make
Like,
me wait, huh?
look, like if it's trying to be a modern game but doubles down and tries to invest itself to being that, then it works well. For like more simulation games, like looking at like Red Dead 2. Red Dead 2 works so well because it doubles down the information in the world that we know of the American Wild West, and it just tries to glorify that and just, you know, make a real immersive experience, and that's what it does well in. And Zelda games has always kind of been that offshoot, like kind of like medieval fantasy, but it's not really like anything else out there. Like you think like medieval fantasy, like more textbook would be like Skyrim, but like
Right.
Zelda's kind of always been like its own thing. And honestly, with sort of its like offshoot, like medieval, or I don't even know how to describe it. Like Zelda's just really much of its own thing. It's special because of that, and there's other things contributing to that other than just like the world and the gameplay. Like even about the art style, we were talking about this earlier, but one of the cool things that Nintendo does is that they create their own worlds and also their own art styles that's not just doing modern graphics, realistic graphics, because those games tend to be a bit oversaturated. It seems like one of the main goals from a lot of companies is making the next game that looks as much like our world as possible and, you know, just has that feel. But Zelda's always been special and unique because it's its own thing, and they interpret that through the world, through the art style, and that's one of the things that made Zelda games always stand out so much to me, like over the years.
Right.
Always played them that way, always enjoyed them. And you know, sometimes when a series does take a dip into the realistic realm, that's when you have something like the Mario movie. Like, remember when Mario tried to make a movie, but it took place in our world?
That
like,
movie
up.
is a
Oh,
national
yeah.
treasure,
Yeah.
and we do not have slander of that movie in
Look,
my
I
house.
love
I
that
love
movie.
Can't do
It's-
modern Zelda.
it's
so
Yeah,
bad
Mario
it's
movie.
good, but also we don't talk about it. Like, I
Right.
don't know. That's just how I feel.
The
So,
movie sucks, but honestly, I get what you guys are saying, but to me, I think they can pull off well. If like I like the main consensus I'm getting from you guys is that, like, you know, when they go into a modern setting, then, you know, it's been done before. What they could do is very dangerous, but the way I'm looking at it is like, not if Zelda is reflecting what we know as modern to us, but I'm just saying, what if Zelda, you know, far off in its own timeline, its own, how will Zelda, you know, do its own take on modernity, like, you know, if they were to get to the age we are, how would they do it? And that's what I really want to see, and that's what I really would like to, you know about. But honestly,
I'm
guys,
gonna switch to your side, man.
all right, there we go. 2v3, let's get it. Oh my god,
It's a 2v3 now.
nice.
All
Now, honestly, guys, this has been an amazing stream. Stick around because I'm going to do my goodbyes to the boys, but there is a big, huge announcement happening after the goodbyes. So, honestly, Conrad, Don, Croton, Bandit, thank you so much for coming on to the show. And, of course, you've been here in the Fifth Dimension before, and you always have a home here. So, whenever you guys want to be on the Fifth Dimension, hit me up. Just let me know. We'll get it done. And I hope you guys had a really good time on the show.
it's been awesome, dude. Love
Yeah,
talking about this stuff.
And
Next time I'll bring
This
some
is
show
always-
and tell as well.
show and tell.
Yeah.
You know, I see that button in the
Well,
background.
Do you?
Yeah.
You see me lean back here?
Yeah, lean back with the button. I still have
what is that?
I still have the OG one right here. So I mean, like.
Oh yeah, I
actually
actually like that one better.
Yeah,
Not
nah,
even gonna lie.
I'm
Those
not.
are actual buttons, yeah.
I
They're
really
actual
don't like.
buttons.
Yeah, I really don't like. You know, if you guys get that, if you guys ever reach to that subscriber level and get that button, I'm not gonna lie, that shit's kind of ugly. I don't
Proton
like
is getting
it.
pretty
It
I wish they were
feels
back.
like super like quick print
Yeah,
type
it feels cheap.
thing.
Yeah.
It feels cheap.
More and more
It
channels are getting
does,
to that
yeah,
milestone quicker now, so it's like they have to kind of skimp. So it's like I kind of get it, but also
I get
sucks
it.
for
I
people who
do
work
get it,
hard.
but I
So,
mean, you know, during this era, that was nice. But yeah, guys, thank y'all so much. Now, I don't wanna make y'all feel like not welcome here, but like in order to have the announcement, I like the camera. The camera, I can't use my camera on my streaming program when Discord is using it. So
I'll do it for you, man. I'll do it
I'll
for
do
you.
it.
Guys, get out.
yeah.
Get out. Get
I
out.
have to go.
Later, guys.
Have a
Thank y'all so
happy
much.
35th anniversary.
Hopefully,
HMK.
it will be happy. It will be happy. Oh, there he goes. There goes one.
okay.
All
See
right.
you. It was fun.
Good night.
Good night. Thank y'all so much for coming on out. We're having a huge announcement, guys. Don't stick around. All right. There we go. And oh, there's no one here. Oh, the stupid thing is here. It doesn't matter. Ah. Okay, guys. Here we go. The big announcement for the fifth dimension deals with the next guest, which is a very, very highly requested guest. And I don't know if you're ready or not, but next week on the fifth dimension, we have this planned out for a while now. I hope you guys would be ready for that. Wait, where's it? No, okay. Here we go. There we go. All right. Featuring the next guest of the fifth dimension. Here we go.
Run me through, hold on, think again, don't you know what you're expecting? But you sure got that clue, how about this we go, don't you know, no more.
That is right. Next week on the fifth dimension, you can catch us here with Miss Erica Harlacher, the voice of Lady On from Persona 5. And it's around the time of Persona 5 Strikers release, so we'll have plenty to talk about. I cannot wait, and for Kingdom Hearts fans, she's a huge Kingdom Hearts fan as well, so it's going to be a really, really good show. I will see you guys next week for the fifth dimension at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. All right, guys. Before I toss y'all to the wind, wait. You guys can still hear me. Before I toss y'all to the wind, let's go ahead and raid another member of the fifth dimension because this is the fifth dimension. Let's see who's live right now. Oh God. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and throw y'all to you know what? Let's roll on out to Tevi Bear, who is currently streaming wow, Mara Sunshine. Damn, that's gonna be a funny ass stream. Let's go to Tevi Bear and show him our love. Currently streaming Super Mario Sunshine. But guys, it has been a blast, and I cannot wait to see you guys next week for the fifth dimension. You guys can't see me now, but I mean, yeah, it's gonna be great. So yeah, we'll see you guys. This has been HMK, and I'll check you guys later.